But if they let me wear one of those little rubber things on the end of my cock, we won't be in the mess we are now. Can't keep you all in.
Every sperm is sacred. Every sperm is good. The sperm is wasted. God gets quite irate. Are you guys ready to learn the secret mystic arts of NoFap? You too can learn how to levitate like this man in the thumbnail. You too can tap into secret Hulk powers of super strength, punch through cinder blocks. You too can learn to use a nunchuck to block a bullet, well, deflect a bullet. You too can learn the astral projection secrets of not touching your wee-wee. And to help me with this, the man, the myth, the legend, who never touches his wee-wee, Ryan Stone is with me today. Yes, it is true.
Sexual energy is very, very powerful.
You know, for a man, it's obvious how it gets saved. What is the case for a woman? So if a woman has sex, is it like she loses some energy?
No, it's mainly for men. Let me tell you this, but normally a woman who had a lot of sex in her life, she looks older. They age faster.
The one thing I've noticed is if I'm ever in we call it NoFap, it's a theme on the channel. If I'm ever in one of those phases, my meditations go way deeper. And it breaks if you break it. That's where it got validated in my head.
Brahmacharis, especially if you live in the temple, this is a main wine.
बिना मैस्टरबेट किए रह पाओगे? तो अब नोनेट नवंबर के कुछ फैक्ट्स ही जान लो। नोनेट नवंबर एक इंटरनेट चैलेंज है जो कि स्टार्ट हुआ था 2011 में बाय द यूजर बिग बॉय 6969696969। इस मूवमेंट को सबसे ज्यादा पॉपुलैरिटी 2017 में मिली। इस चैलेंज में मेल्स इजैकुलेशन मैस्टरबेशन ना करने का प्रण लेते हैं। Currently,
See, if you were touching yourself, if you weren't jerking off, and you had done that for 30 days, you would be able to understand every single word she's saying.
नोनेट नवंबर के हेल्थ बेनिफिट्स का कोई एविडेंस नहीं है, बट काफी लोगों को लगता है कि इसके कुछ ना कुछ तो हेल्थ बेनिफिट्स है, जैसे कि इंक्रीज मेंटल क्लैरिटी, इंक्रीज कंसंट्रेशन, क्विकर इरेक्शंस ड्यूरिंग सेक्स, बेटर स्पर्म क्वालिटी, इंक्रीज टेस्टोस्टेरोन एंड हैप्पियर रिलेशनशिप्स। और देखो गाइस, ऐसा है 6 नवंबर को मेरा बर्थडे है, तो उससे पहले मुझे किसी भी हालत में 100 के सब्सक्राइबर्स चाहिए। सो सब्सक्राइब टू सेक्स शिक्षा।
No-fap. I've done that in the past. Transmutation of sexual energy. If you're a guy and you don't masturbate for like an extended period of time, that drive has to go somewhere.
Right.
And it's a good way to channel it into your work, into things that make you a better man, or get you in the bar talking to women. Way better than sitting at home jerking off.
Before your workout affect your gains. Studies show that when you fiddle your flesh flute before a workout, the effects on testosterone are minimal. Your testosterone levels will return to normal a few minutes after the release of your population pudding. But when excreting your protein, it may affect your mood, which may affect the way you train. But that changes from person to person. I suggest you need to become receptive to the way you feel following your fap, and then decide what's best for you.
Like, man, well, sometimes you don't get no hoes, man.
Your testosterone level by doing this. People will say this is a normal and healthy habit. Yeah, maybe once every 3 weeks or 4 weeks, but 5 times a day on the internet with the content that you're consuming? No. Anything that lowers your testosterone level is not healthy. Whereas if you were to find the girl you like and seduce her, make her your girlfriend and make love to her, that actually increases your testosterone level.
And I'm going to show you why. Hi, my name's Jack and I went on NoFap for 631 days and this is what it taught me. So I want you to imagine this reality. Yeah, you're going to the gym every single day, you're going 6 days a week, and you're making some gains. Yeah, you've been going there for about 6 weeks, you can see your progress, you're really happy. Yeah, you've been able to make gains naturally. And then you discover steroids. And now your gains go bang, bang, bang. But then you stop training, but you're still taking steroids, but you can't see any gains because you're not actually breaking down the muscles. And it's the same with NoFap. NoFap is a steroid for literally any part of life you want it to be, in my opinion. But taking the steroid and not doing the actual work will not get you anywhere. You can make significant gains in your physical attributes, your mental attributes, if you use NoFap correctly.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
You beat your meat, right?
Absolutely and utterly not. God is always watching. It's disgusting. It's embarrassing. Next time you're off, understand that God is watching you. And imagine what you look like. Imagine the look on your face. Imagine your expression. Would you put that video on the internet? Imagine how everyone would laugh at you. Well, God is laughing at you, Aiden. Stop off. Stop being a dickhead.
All right.
You need to grow.
My bad, bro.
I had to save the best for last, man.
Dude, I got family. Hey, what'd you up to, Ryan? I'm like, nothing. Nothing at all. Don't even look.
Oh my god, I got some other ones to look at today, but I figured I better put your favorite people in there before so get your blood boiling.
Dude, Tristan, man, that 4-head, that's 6-head, 5-head. That thing was shiny as a mother. That's some good skincare. I'm just saying.
I love how this is. By the way, well, welcome, boys and girls.
Hi,
boys and boys. Ryan Stone. Just so you guys don't know. You know what? I should probably put those up there. Hang on 1 second. I almost never use name tags, but in this case, I will. There you go.
Hey. Oh, I forgot to put something catchy in there too.
Yeah. A vasectomologist.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say for me, it's the anybody who attacks this brand ends up going to jail. I'm running like 100% right now on that.
Yeah.
Now that Stedman's been sentenced.
Oh my God. Remember when Tate when Andrew Tate used to like post pictures of Stedman like as an ostrich?
Oh no, that was Colty, I think.
It was a Colty that was doing that.
Yeah, that one made me laugh so hard.
Oh my God.
This was more fun back then. Everybody was like, all the shit posting was more jovial. You know,
people take themselves so fucking seriously. Jeez.
Dude, all of those guys you were showing me there, they're 100% legit, at least pretending to be serious about touching your dick is the worst thing ever. It's worse than steroids.
Well, I think probably the first place. I mean, this is in case you didn't know, this is our annual No Nut November. This is like it's like an annual thing for us now. It's like we did this 2 years ago, I think. Yeah. And then we picked it up again last year, and then like now we're doing it again this year.
Yeah.
But there's always
it's like going to kiss that crying wall that every politician has to do. This is our crying wall.
Yeah. You have to get you have to come. Oh wait, yeah, no, you have to return to the source. You have to go home every now and then. But man, I tell you, the thing that's funny is like I don't think people are as zealous about it this time around. I feel like it's a little bit more low key. Now there's always going to be people who are going to be like they're like no-fap year round, right? But well, because I have been doing it for 5 months. Doing what? Well, nothing. So you're not really doing anything.
I would pay money to see those challenge coins, like Alcoholic Anonymous coins, but for no-fappers.
There you go.
Oh man.
Somebody slaps it in your hand. Good job.
Yeah.
What do you know?
And I get it too. Like everybody knows this is all evangelical fundamentalist stuff. That's the only people right now that are seriously telling guys that if you touch your dick, you're going to hell. Like, oh, geez, I better not.
Yeah. I think what's like I've always laughed when we'll kind of riff on a couple of other videos here too, but the starting point, I think there's usually the religious side, and then there's people who want to tell you it's like some sort of like medical, like they want to get down to like the endocrinology of like not like snapping your radish, right?
Well, I'd argue those are the same thing. That kind of reminds me of, do you remember those like atheists, the cringy ones that kept treating atheism like a religion? And it turns out that's just because they were from fundamentalist families, and once they left the church, they didn't know how to process the world other than as like a hardcore religion. That's the impression I get from these no-fap endocrinologists. It's like, oh, God's not here anymore. I better fill God with science.
Right. Well, or back up my faith with something that seems like tangible, like something empirical. Right.
Yeah. And I would understand if they read the research.
Huberman, or Alex Hormozy. Let's see if we can get those guys. Or what's Jocko Willnick.
Yeah. Or what's the other one? The one with the beanie. The other guy with the beanie. That's not you.
Simple?
No, his parents have a winery, and he always talks motivation, and he sells bullshit. He had like the Facebook $32,000 challenge. Basically, buy things on Facebook and flip them on Etsy.
Yeah. Oh. Or what's that guy? No, is he the guy who's like, does he also sell like your bowels are full of like 10 pounds of toxic poop or some shit?
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah.
Why am I drawn? Like,
I know who you're talking about.
Grifters just got to blend together in like this weird sludge.
We did a whole episode on that guy, Pinnacle of a Man, wasn't that? Or Pinnacle of Manhood, or
Yeah, that's the guy.
Excelsior.
Whatever happened to him?
I see him in videos, like I see him in ads and stuff, especially this time of year too. I think it's funny is like whenever I go back and I like, because I usually go back to my shows and like I'll chop them up for clips, or else I'll go and make sure that the ads are being spaced correctly and everything like that. So I'll play it and then I go look at who's advertising on my stuff, and it's still Marnie Wing Girl, that dude with toxic poop, the guy who's I don't even know the other dude's name, but Pinnacle of a Man, like, are you touching yourself right now? No.
I know. Yes, I feel so bad for Drew Bay, because I understand his plight now, because he's like in the workout and eating healthy and diet space.
Yeah.
And the weight loss industry is probably the second biggest grift next to this nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's got to be associated with people. It's like, yeah, you got to, I don't even know what the latest fitness trends are. Whatever fen they're trying to sell right now, that, yeah, your heart will explode, but you'll be jacked. Or the raw liver king. And then Drew's sitting here. It's like, here's how I work out and eat right.
Yeah, here's what I do. Like step 1, step 2, like it's all nuts and bolts. Nobody wants to talk about that shit. Like they want mysticism added to it. That's why by the way, I have to like give props to the guy who actually introduced me to that photo of the levitating monk.
It is a good one.
I was like when you were playing Dungeons and Dragons with us and you're playing a monk character, I'm like, see, your path should be no-fap.
Had I done that, I wouldn't have fallen in that damn pit and gotten us all into trouble. I'll say that right now.
Yeah.
Oh, but they were just like, oh, let's carefully like touch, like get going.
Yeah. That I wanted to actually kind of cover this. I want to give a little bit of credit to the no nut, no fap, whatever, because I understand that there is a certain power of belief, right?
Right.
It's not the actual thing you're doing. It's the metaphorical truth, right? It's the belief in that thing that's actually has some sort of like significance rather than the actual
Are you talking like placebos here, or?
Well, something similar to that, but also like most shit is like just superstition, right?
Right.
The belief in that is really kind of like the whole, I mean, it's literally they can, placebo effect, right? It can trigger, I'm not an endocrinologist, but it can certainly trigger, biochemistry that will, like, fight or flight, right? I mean, if you're in a position that's going to put you into a state, a biochemical state that's going to either motivate you or not. I think that, like, when I hear the guys who are talking about testosterone, like if you rub one out before you, like a bodybuilding competition, or like, no, it was what was it?
Boxing, wasn't it? Boxing before a match.
It was Rocky, right? Wasn't it?
Tyson had that too, where like 3 days before he would
legs weak, Rock.
Oh yeah.
And they you're not supposed to like knock it out with your wife or your girlfriend or whatever, or rub one out before you like do some sort of like athletic competition.
Yeah, and see, I always thought that was just to make you angry.
Yeah, probably. I mean, there might be something to that, right? Because there's this sort of like that because you're denying yourself some sort of immediate pleasure.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of guys get carried away with that right now, particularly in the religious. It doesn't have to necessarily, I mean, obviously the evangelical, pinnacle of man kind of, that's very popular right now, and probably going to increase in popularity coming into the next election cycle here in the United States, because everybody wants to save the West. The whole damn narrative is going to be like the culture war. It already is. I mean, even like Tim Pool's already renamed his stream the Culture War.
Oh, he's off of the whole what's the other thing? The Civil War. Now he's on to saving the West.
Yes. Well, I mean, he always kind of has been, but he kind of toys with like little things that like whatever thread seems to like be the one that's going to like get him the most views or to get him the most, I don't know, super chats, whatever the fuck however he generates revenue.
Finger on the pulse.
A poll. That's why when I see him, like he just had like Myron and Fresh were on there about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. And I thought it was funny because like, and he was actually out in Miami doing their show as well. I'm like, wow, this is you must be really desperate to come.
I was going to say, once people start talking red pill and quoting Rollo Tomasi stuff, I'm like, dude, must be a low income month. It's like, geez.
Like Zuby is all over it right now, particularly Zuby. All it took was watching James Sexton and the attorney, like the divorce attorney. Like, I don't know if you watched our show on Rule Zero, the show here, my interview with him, Lex Friedman. I've
seen probably half of them.
Yeah. I will admit something. Like I'll come clean here really quick. like when I was talking to Jim, like I've known Jim for a while, and so he hit me up, and I had had done the interview with him, and he was starting to he still is kind of picking up steam. I mean, to the point where Zuby's even like watching him and everything. Mm-hmm. Joe Rogan started talking about him, like sort of in the third person on some of these clips. But I had Jim come to me and say, "Hey man, I got an offer to come and do like Fresh and Fit. We were supposed to do it this week actually, but he came down with COVID. So it's going to be me and Mike in Miami and not me, Mike and Jim in Miami like we we're hoping for, but we'll get him to Vegas or something. Right. But I told Jim, I said, hey, look, because he was like Pearl was trying to get him and Fresh and Fit were trying to get him. I said, dude, you're about to go do Lex Friedman. Don't go on Fresh and Fit and don't go on Pearl until after you've done like Lex's show, because Lex is like he's such a major league podcast right now.
Yeah.
It's like, don't get that association just yet. I mean, I was thankful to have him on my show, but even coming on my show was sort of almost a step down from like Soft White Underbelly and Lex Friedman's show. I said, at least do that until you get the call from Rogan, because they won't take you seriously if you go on Pearl, you go on Fresh and Fit or even me for that.
Oh yeah. God, no.
Yeah.
This place is a shithole. Why would you come here?
Exactly. Well, and sure shit, then they start talking about him and everything. And so you're trying to play the game a little bit more, because you don't call Rogan to go on Rogan. His people call you to come on Rogan. So
yeah.
And if you call them, then you get blacklisted. So
no, that I didn't know. I expected it because I assumed, I didn't know this. I guess a lot of guests, they pay people to go onto their podcast. I don't know if Joe does that. But I guess there's like a whole industry in just building up a podcast, so people will pay you on there to hawk their whatever.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, there's always going to be paid promotion. There's always going to be people who come on there. They're going to say, "Hey, come on my show," so that you can be. It doesn't even have to be affiliate marketing. It could just be like your presence there is enough for them to sort of like back up whatever it is that they themselves are like affiliate marketing themselves. But no, it's interesting to me to see that I think right now we're kind of like sort of in a state of flux. Everybody's kind of in a state of limbo. So you got like the Save the West guys, the No-fap guys, the No Nut. By the way, let me clarify here, because I didn't know there were franchises of this yet, but there's No Nut November. So you just don't nut. Right. Then there's No-fap November. So I presume that No Nut November means you can't like fuck your wife and like get off, right?
So the Burger King McDonald war here.
No-fap means you can fuck your girlfriend or your wife or whatever, but you can't like jerk yourself. No mutual masturbation, apparently.
Oh, so the Mormons are right out.
And then there's semen retention, which I think is probably somewhere in between those ones. Yes. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Jimmy. Roll always on top tier. Thank you. I appreciate that very much, actually.
What I like about him is he's like, first off, he's really quick on the ball. Like with wit, he'll bounce out, he'll ping off of ideas. Very engaging that way. Pretty damn funny. Smart. And the fact that he actually knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Lately, like in comics and all like the Marvel stuff, you're seeing a lot of people who say they were lawyers and writers absolutely effing the dog right now. And he's one of those few people, he's like, I actually know what I'm doing. And I think that's refreshing.
Well, and it's kind of hard. Like one of the things that got me after our interview, like even after the show that we did with him, is I started looking up like the stats. Like too many people, even Zuby got this wrong. He said, "Oh, the divorce rate's at 30 to 50%." No, man, it's 56%.
Yeah,
where it's at right now. Those stats. I mean, you can like rejigger those things depending on like demographics and race and age and socioeconomic level, but average is 56% in the United.
Well, I like how Dalrock put it. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember this. It was a Dalrock thing where he was talking about things are actually 5 years worse than you think, and he was making the case where he would show, I think it was either childless rate or divorce rates. I can't remember which, and he would just show 2010 study and the girls that were 20, and then a 2020 study of girls that were 30. He goes, that's the same girls, and it was noticing that. It used to be if girls got married before 30, they were fine. And if they didn't, they were spinsters. Now it's that age is getting younger. So if a girl doesn't get knocked up by 22, there's a much higher chance that she's going to be a spinster.
Right. I love that. And even the term spinster, like I wonder how many people are even familiar with the term spinster at this point, right? Like the old maid.
Yeah. I'm gonna make that big again. Spinsters and harlots. We're going there.
Slovenly troll.
Yeah. The things where they're so old that they don't even know they're being offended.
Yes. Yeah, I love that shit. I know all you gotta do is have a good vocabulary and people don't know that they're being insulted.
Yeah. That's my favorite part. Favorite part of things is when you insult somebody and they don't know you're doing it, but the audience does. It's my favorite thing in the world.
Oh, let me do a quick update here real quick. Yeah. Ned is doing good. He's doing really, really, really good. As a matter of fact, he's happy. He's roaching right now. The surgery was a success. I signed, if you haven't seen it, you could find it on my Instagram right now. I signed his cat. Everybody who like gave a donation to have your name on the cast. It's on the cast right now. Which should be on for at least another week, because I know he had 2 weeks before they have to take the splint and the cast off. So it is on there. Maybe I'll take one more quick one. I have to actually fly to Miami tomorrow morning at like the crack of dawn. But
so that plate that's on his femur right now, is that going to go? Like, did they take that out, or is that there?
That's permanent hardware. I asked him if I asked let me tell you something. The guy who's the doc, the vet.
Yeah,
it blows me away how like veterinarians how much shit they have to know. Like if for a human body, like if I was to like break my arm or something like that, and I needed something like that, I would have to go see a specialist. I would have to go see like an orthopedic surgeon to have like hardware installed and everything, and you'd have to go look for that. This dude, the vet, everything. He knows surgery. He knows all the all the biology, the chemistry.
And for 18 different species of animals.
Yeah, God no, and not just for dogs, like cats and pigs and God knows whatever else has.
Yeah.
And I was just like, so I'm looking at this, and I posted some of the I put it on Twitter and I put it on Instagram, but I put some of the X-rays, a couple shots of the X-rays. I'm looking at this, and I'm like, this is fucking. You got to remember, it's a space that's like this big, and I'm like, dude, and I told him this. I said, first of all, I said, thank you for giving my best friend back to me. I wasn't real, but and I'll give you another confession too. When my wife and I were in there to go and pick him up, two people walked out of there and they were in tears because they had just lost their dogs or their animals.
Heartbreaking, man.
My wife and I are usually the people who are walking out of there without a dog, right? Because they're greyhounds. Greyhounds they're a heartbreak breed. But we weren't. We beat the odds this time, and so we're actually walking out of there with Ned. And I was like, "Fuck yeah!" And those people have
rare Rolo W.
They have to see. Yeah, in this case, definitely. But like I'm looking at the poor girls who are like have to see this every day. The people, they're the aides or what I don't know what their titles are, but the surgeon is there. The guy who's the veterinarian is right there. And I told him, I said, dude, I said, thank you for giving me my best friend back. Because these other two people walked out of here and they didn't. And then I was looking at the X-ray and I go, you're an artist. I'm like, oh shit, how do you do this? Right. And it's like, little teeny tiny screws. And then there's like a little bit of baling wire around.
Yeah.
I'm like, God damn, that's just to do something that small and minute, and then to have the know-how to actually do that.
Well, and just to know that greyhounds don't take anesthetics like other dogs do.
And be the anesthesiologist at the same time. Yeah. Just unbelievable. So I just big shout out to the people at the vet clinic here in Reno. It was just amazing. But I thought I better throw that out there because I had so many people asking about Ned, and I hate to even have to leave like right now to go to Miami, but I'm already booked to go out there, and we made arrangements, so we'll be okay.
And hey, you should have seen the other dog.
Yeah, well,
people forget, man. Greyhounds are hunting dogs. They're made to rip shit up. Yeah.
Well, greyhounds are interesting. I know you have Italian greyhounds, and I don't know exactly like what
they're just mini. They're just literally bred to be smaller.
Yeah, and so like. Greyhounds, when it comes to fight or flight, it's usually flight because 47 miles per hour, usually there's no dog that can catch them. So that's usually the response, unless it's a big 77-pound male like Ned. Ned likes to fight. And so when it came after him, I mean, he like Anna didn't get a scratch. My wife ended up breaking her finger because she was trying to separate the dogs. She got a compression here on her left hand. But yes, and then so everybody knows we do have a personal injury attorney already on it, so we are filing charges against this. This has been apparently this lady has been a nuisance for a while, so we're pursuing it.
I should have just guessed. Every time there is a bullshit dog, it is always a like 140-pound soccer mom or some dude with a sideways baseball cap and a weed dealership.
Yeah. Well,
every time.
The other thing is like, so this woman, I actually found out who she was because I went through county records, went through the parcel and found out who's registered the house that was. The house is in a cul-de-sac that's right on the path where the dog path is. Dog was off the leash, runs from like the front yard or the front.
Oh, you weren't in a dog park. You were literally just out and about.
We're just on a path. I wasn't with her. It was that's the other things. My wife's walking two greyhounds at the same time, and just she didn't even know until the thing came up from behind and sucker punched Ned. So and then it was on, right? Once that was the case, then Ned's gonna fight. And Anna, our other little female, she doesn't have a scratch on her. And other than my wife getting a broken finger trying to separate them, there was no scratch on my wife either. She's very traumatized by it because poor Ned would look like he was going to die. But then the lady goes in to go get she says, I want give me your contact information, yada yada. She puts the dog in the house, gets in her car, and drives off. That's so trust me, we have her dead to rights for responsibility for this. But yeah, I thought that was kind of shitty. That's welcome to America.
It's not America. That's dogs, man. Montreal was the same thing. It's chicks really do get these. I like chicks with toy breeds. The ones with the big dogs, they seem to want to replace a man, and they never seem to train them well, ever.
Yeah, and then
I'm sure there's an essay on that you've written. I'm sure there is.
Oh yeah. Well, I have one. It's called that damn dog. It's not in the book. It's on the Rational Male, but I actually have an essay about that damn dog. It's when women and it doesn't have to be a dog, it could be any pet, right? When women put their interests, or when they put like an overwhelming, like almost obsessive interest into the little dog, it becomes a passive aggressive way of communicating is what it is. Pookie says you should go and find a new job. Don't you think so? Like, it's like this back and forth, like this human conversation that they have. And it's just the most annoying fucking thing in the world.
Oh, it's stunted as hell.
I mean, it's not even just that. It's just the overemphasis on the pet. And usually it's because women who can't really be emotionally, invested in a guy, they want to feel like they can still be emotionally invested in something living, right? It could be a cat, it could be a dog, it could be whatever the fuck it is, right? And then usually,
you never have to you never have to hone your ability to be social. A dog doesn't care; just feed them.
Yeah, fur babies. Thank you very much. They become child substitutes. Really, I mean, if you think about it, that's what pets really are: is just child substitutes. You're taking care of them, but like and I realize that I've gotten what Anna and Ned are greyhound number 8 and 9 for me right now. So, but we got into reconditioning them and getting them, we used to foster them until we failed a couple of fosters.
I just screw up a foster.
For us, yeah. You fail a foster, you keep the dog. That's
fair.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, to drive it back to the topic, so your damn dog, what you were just talking about, I'll put a link for the guys in the chat if you want to read what he's talking about. That everybody has taken your ideas there, and that has turned into the dog pill. The guys who are always talking about girls that have dogs for sexual things, which is weird as hell. But this is exactly like NoFap, because I think wasn't the old pickup stuff. It was about the reason you were supposed to keep your hand off your dick is because you need better things to do. You want to have a little bit of hunger to you. So when you go out to the bar to go hit on girls, you actually are you got that hunger to go get something. And now they've turned into this weird cargo cult of personalities. And this is every red pill or pickup thing always ends up like this. It starts off as an idea, it turns into a grift, and then it ends off as a lampoon.
Yeah. And part of that grift ends up becoming the woo-woo magical thinking side of things, right? It's like, okay, wise and wonderful guru master, can you please express that in...
I love when you post that comic.
I'll go dig that up again and put it on here in a second.
Yeah.
But it's like, you can explain to people things scientifically and empirically, and they still won't accept it unless you say, well, it's the ancient mysticism of Tibetan monks at the height of some giant, at the top of the mountain, and you have to climb the mountain to get the ancient mystical knowledge of it. And it's like, no, you already have it. You just don't want to hear it from some egghead who's going to tell you what the scientific aspect of it is.
Well, that's what I've always wondered. Is it an ethos thing? I don't like who's telling it to me. Or is it one of those things where you need it to be impossibly opaque and difficult, so you have a perfectly plausible reason why you're not doing it?
Yeah, well, again, it comes down with remember what we always say: is it a grift, or do they actually believe in it?
Yeah, you win on this one. I fought you for 2 years. I get it. Yeah. No, Roosh really believes it. These guys really do believe it.
They believe this shit.
The useful idiots are the guys that think. But you know what I mean? Like a guy who wants to do NoFap for 30 days, which good luck to you. Probably, I doubt anybody does it. I doubt it. 100% doubt it.
Okay.
But They start filling you with all these stats and figures and science, and all of a sudden it sounds way too difficult. So it's like, of course I only lasted. What's the average failure rate of guys in the chat? How failure, like, is it set day 7?
What's the long? And maybe that's it. Yeah, maybe if you guys, that's a good poll. Guys in the chat, if you have like tried NoFap, how long did you go? How many days or how many months? I mean, you can put a number in there if you want, or like 2 days, a month, whatever. This is the cartoon that we're talking about here, and this is like, my son, to win in combat, you must let go of your conscious self. But why, master? Because motor memories are stored as implicit memories, not declarative memories. Trying to use your conscious brain for motor tasks is basically accessing the wrong database. Can you rephrase that in this mystical wisdom? Dwell in your inner, inness. Thank you, wise master. And that's basically how people, because people, when we talk about people, you can, you can tell people data all day long, but if you don't tell them how to feel about it, they will hate you for it. And sometimes that hating means that you didn't give it to them with a nice, candy-coated wrapping of mysticism that goes.
Well, it's the reference I always make. Remember as a kid, they used to have those the spoons that had the thing inside them, so you could put the medicine into the spoon.
Yeah.
And it looked like an airplane. You'd feed it to the kids. That's what I get now. Full-grown adults that need the medicine inside of an airplane spoon, and you got to make choo-choo noises as you put it in, which is so. The Bros Before Homes article from you, what was that one? What did you call it? Bros Before Homes was the one you referenced. What was your article called? Do you remember?
Bros, God damn it. No, it has a different title though. I don't know. It's Are You Experienced?
That's the one. Yeah.
An encyclopedia. Damn, I'm good.
Dude, that one was prophetic because it really has gotten, like, back then it was bad. Guys at pharmacies earning $120 a year. $120,000 a year. He's got all these things. He's basically a fully functional adult. He just didn't buy a home and he doesn't want to settle down.
Right.
Nowadays, we're at the point where guys are like emotionally stunted. They're Adderalled up, or what was that drug you were talking about? Zytol or whatever?
5-A's. Thank you for giving me that reference, Destiny.
But you see what I mean? Like, Bros Before Homes used to be fully functional men who just didn't want to grow up. Now it's people that just aren't grown up at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's, is it choice, or is it because they're just simply are just, lazy, lackadaisical, lethargic fuckwits, right?
I mean, I think it's a feedback loop, honestly. You get parents that stunt the adulthood, the growth stages. Kids don't take risks anymore. Yeah. Then they grow up and they're like at a 14-year-old level of maturity. Meanwhile, they're in a 25-year-old body earning 30-year-old pay. Yeah, of course. Now they're going to buy into, NoFap sounds good. It's magical, because that's what a 13-year-old kid would believe.
Right. Well, again,
like they just got over Santa not being real.
and maybe Sam can dig this up for me as well. I have it's actually in my first book. It's called The Pheromonal Beta.
Yeah.
Okay, I use this example. You guys, do you remember what is it? What was the name of the movie with Cameron Diaz?
Something About Mary?
Something About Mary. And that
I know what scene you're referencing.
Where the guy's like, you can't go out there with a loaded gun. You got to flog the dolphin before you go out there. And it's exactly the opposite of what you should be doing, right? Essentially, what I was referring to in that post was a very rudimentary level of semen retention, right? It wasn't because you have some magical chi or some bullshit, energy that you're retaining.
No, you just reek like jizz.
you go out hungry. You don't go out satisfied. You don't go, what they always tell you, like, don't go grocery shopping when you're hungry.
Yeah.
That's the opposite you should do when you go out on a date, or you're going.
It's a perfect example too, because hopefully everybody understands. Kids these days, you guys go grocery shopping, don't you? All right, just checking.
Uber Eats.
You're not joking. You really aren't.
Dash. But like this, here it is, this pheromonal. It's just something about Mary. The guy jerks off in his hand, and she takes it, she thinks it's mousse, and puts it in her hair and everything. It's a joke. It's funny. But the principle of that was the guy was trying to give the other dude advice on like a first date, because he was going out with Cameron Diaz or whatever, Mary, right? And he says, you got to be relaxed. You don't want her to think that you're like all about sex and it's all you're after and blah, blah, blah. You'll be more relaxed if you you rub one out before you go and meet this girl. And it's like, I thought about that, and I go, you know what? That's the wrong way to think about things. First off, Simply because like you have to think about, and I'm not an endocrinologist, but you have to think about what like the biochemistry of like what happens before orgasm and what happens after orgasm.
Yeah.
And it's not like why we're just talking like these guys want to say, oh yeah, even Tristan Tate gets it wrong, gets it fucking absolutely wrong, right?
Color me surprised.
You're going to deplete your testosterone if you rub one out before you go. No, you're not. It doesn't deplete your fucking serum testosterone.
Actually, in fairness, I think the worst it does is you deplete zinc from your system. So you need a multivitamin.
Right. And Nick, you're 100% right. That's exactly what I was about to say. It's not about the testosterone. It's about the oxytocin that's released after post-orgasm. That's where the relaxation comes from. And that's what sort of like makes you less hungry and less competitive when you're going out. Right.
Yeah.
That's the fallacy of something about Mary.
And women buy into it too, because for women, when they have sex, obviously when a guy's ejaculate, there's going to be a microdose of testosterone there. A lot of guys wonder, how come girls are so calm and they feel so good after sex? It's like, yeah, you've basically given them a little shot of tea, and so it mutes their nerves a little bit. So when a girl starts hearing about the magical properties of sex, of course they buy into it, because they don't know how chemicals work. No, it's just magic. And then, yeah, you get girls teaching guys this stuff, and guys believe in it. All it takes is one or two gamer girls in the no-fap space, and I know there is one. There's no way in hell there's not some Karen Strawn / Perlian things of the no-faposphere. There's no way there's not.
Oh yeah, totally. I 100% agree. I think the notion of like no-fap, I get it, that as far as like being hungry and being motivated to go do something, like it's like I look at it as like being hangry, right? Why do you get upset and frustrated and all pissed off when you're hungry, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it from like sort of an evolutionary perspective, like if the state of being hungry inspires frustration or anger or just like I got to go out and kill something and eat something, that's going to like motivate you to go run down small game and kill it and eat it, right? Or find some way to go out there. It's meant. Emotive states are meant to get you from one state, one environmental state to another. So that can be happiness, that can be hunger for sure.
Yeah.
Be depression. I mean, think about base emotions. They're meant to move you from one state to another, and also including something like hunger, right?
Yeah.
So if you're hangry, you're like that emotive state is meant to say, you know what, I got to go run down some fucking food and kill it and eat it. And if that's what it takes to move me from one state to the next so I can survive, well, there's also, there's two basic functions, right? There's reproduction and then there's survival. Survival, I got to go kill something and eat it. And then it's like, I got to get out there and I got to fuck, right?
Yeah. And you even mentioned it with depression, how you talk about the evo psych history of depression, the idea of it. A guy, he's been beaten. He doesn't want to get murdered by the next tribal leader or something. So you're depressed. So you go sit there and you lick your wounds. It's the same thing. But and here's the funny thing.
I hate that analogy, but it's true.
It is. And there was this back to the Spurg thing and the no-fap and this. It's a matter of perspective, obviously. You said yourself, there's like a 5 out of 10 usefulness to this, but people are taking it up to 12. And there was this great old red-pilled post back in like 2012 where it's like, stop listening to me like a Spurg. And he's like, yeah, Spurgs can't generalize. They can't grasp implications. They can't get nuance. They don't have a sense of proportion. They hear the content and either take it literally or reject it altogether. They don't grasp the intent behind the words. And like, it's not going to help you with the red pill stuff. And this is like the perfect example of that. There is a solid piece of information up here that guys can use to make better decisions. And they've taken it and they ran with it until the wheels fell off. And now you're at a point where two grown men have to sit here talking about our dicks for 2 hours.
I know. And then what happens is this is like, and then people will pick up on this and they'll go, man, can you imagine being so insecure about your penis that you have to talk about it for 2 hours? And then we just hand it to them on a, like, here's some cringe freshly created and hot for you. Go ahead and use it for your next reaction videos.
Those Russian Mishka dolls, but every single one's a vasectomy tweet. It's like,
yes. Oh yeah. Oh, God. Here, let's roll. How many different ways can we make that one work for us? Sure.
Yeah. Old Rolo, chop your dick off to Massey.
That's technologist.
I don't mean to laugh. It is kind of funny. It's just like,
Did you see the what you call it? The meme I made out of that with the kids playing the telephone game, and it's like they go from vasectomy to like, gender affirming surgery, or red pill guys want you to cut your dick off, right? I'm like, you're the
dude. It was on point. On point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does Pearl no-fap? Do girls call it no-fap? Wouldn't they call it no-flick or something?
No flick.
Yeah.
No flick.
Well, I remember like the old school ways, jilling off. Remember when they used to call it jilling off?
Was that jilling off?
Jilling off, because jacking off and then jilling off. It was kind of clever. It's what like 80s kids used to talk about.
That's what we should do in February. No flick February for girls. Like, can't flick the bean. And
Oh, that would go well. Actually, you want a really good equivalent? It would be like, don't buy anything on Sephora online. No fap.
Hey, Giovanni Sanders says, I lasted about 4. By the way, Giovanni does all of the great music for Access Vegas and the outro for the show.
Oh, nice.
I lasted about 4.5 months, and then I finally had sex. Well, I mean, hey, mission accomplished, right? Maybe that was what it took for you to go out there and say, I'm gonna make it work this time, right? Whatever motivates you. I would assume like that frustration, that angst that is generated as a result of that, in some way, that would have to be, motivating, right? I mean,
it's got to go one way or the other. Either you're motivated or you're just despondent and give up.
Here, I got a better example for you. Have you seen these? It's on Twitter, or I guess it's like in YouTube Shorts or some shit like that. But these guys go to the gym, right? And they have their phone with them, and they put their phone like by the squat rack or whatever, and they call up a picture of their ex-girlfriend, and they're like, "Fuck, she's with some other guy right now," and it's like, and they're just like, like going full like spurgtard, because they're using the image of their ex to sort of like get that Hulk up kind of thing, and I'm just like. I understand it in principle, but I'm not sure that's the healthiest thing in the world.
This is what's funny. Frank Edward, this is guy I follow on Twitter. Frank Edward, he's a comic artist. He draws a lot of like incel fan fiction stuff. And he literally draws comics that have that, like guys working out, thinking about their ex and stuff. The meme has become real.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. You know how many memes lately have been real now? Like that one guy talk about why I'd make a good husband. He's like, I'm 6 foot, I got abs, I got a job. And I'm like, dude, that's that ab where the guy was sitting at the party minding his own business saying, if only they knew I'd be a good father and have a good job.
Yeah.
But like we're past the point of parody now. Like how do you be satirical with this? How?
That's what I was just like. Did you see the tweet that I put out there? I said, and I just was another throwaway tweet that I was expecting to get me in trouble. But I'm like, every account on Twitter right now is a parody account. Mine, yours, everybody else. It's nothing but a parody account. Everything that we do right now is just parody. And if it's not, it could certainly be construed as being a parody.
Yeah. Well, things are just so out of left field, completely ridiculous to the point that you either have to think well of humanity or you believe the tweets, but you can't do both.
Yeah. Well, I gotta hate your audience, right? Because you write on. Are you still writing on Substack?
Yeah.
I've been doing Substack a lot lately, and I've been kind of front loading my essays, so I kind of like, I don't want to put them all out once, right? I want to sort of drip feed them, but you must probably have got this as well. There's the newsletter that you get from Substack.
Yeah,
it came out like on Halloween, and it was about this lady who's a witch, literally a witch, like a pagan, like Wicca, whatever witch, and she has a Substack where she writes about like moon rituals or what. I don't know fucking what it is. Just woo bullshit, right?
How many hundreds of thousands is she pulling a month? Don't tell me.
We're gonna.
I don't want to know.
We're gonna get to that. Yeah.
I don't want to know.
I'll tell you something. I learned something from her. I'm gonna tell you what I learned. Okay, but here's the buildup. Okay, so I'm reading this, and she's talking about how she makes X. I'll tell you what she makes here in a minute. But like, she makes X amount of dollars. And all she does is she does 2 Substack posts every week, and then once a month she does like whenever the full moon comes out, she does the moon ritual, whatever the fuck that is, right? And she does that via Zoom. So she has like subscribers, and she has like a membership kind of thing where they do some kind of, I don't know, occult stuff. I don't even know what it is, but it's enough that she has about 450 followers. Okay, 450 people like following her on Substack, and then I guess of those members, there's like a handful of them that do the moon rituals or whatever the fuck it is, right?
Right.
And she makes $50,000 a month doing this.
I want to throw something, but everything here is breakable.
50 followers. I'm like,
so breakable.
Why? I mean, that's like in most cases that's better than the average for women on OnlyFans. And I was like, because of this woo-woo magical, tarot card shit and chick crack is basically.
And like, this isn't some money laundering thing where like some Russian oligarch uses this. This
No.
is like real.
No, this is the real deal, right? And yeah, I know, right? Santa Maria.
Are you just jealous, Rolo, of the witch chick?
The witch. Yes, I guess I am, right? Oh, you got me. But so $50,000 for this, and it's all woo-woo magical bullshit. But here's what I learned though. The reason why because she was struggling like with social media and everything else. And one of the things she said about social media, whether she hates to promote, she would much rather just be doing, and I totally understand. I'm not going to do what she does, but I would much rather be writing and get back to the core of things. I get back because you and I are both ideas guys. I mean, we put out, do shit. We actually put out books. We actually talk about substantial shit, right? We're not just like out there reacting, although I'm not going to say I don't react. I do, but like that's not our core. That's not exactly what we're known for. We're known for our books. We're known for what, having conversations just like this.
Yeah.
And so she was talking about Twitter and Instagram. And she's like, I actually had to give up on Twitter because she compared it to being like at a carnival with nothing but carnival barkers everywhere. And she says, Twitter is not a space to have any kind of meaningful conversation or have any exchange of real ideas. She said back in 2015, 2016, that it was a little different back then. Like things might have been they're not what they are in 2023. Right. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I got to thinking about that. She's fucking right. And that's, by the way, was the inspiration for that tweet. Like we're all parody accounts right now because
they've made it that way. The only thing that I expect from Twitter is just people to learn who I am. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't expect them to think of me well. I don't expect them to know my work. Just when my name pops up on a screen, have some recognition. That's literally all Twitter is good for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what else I don't know how else to put that out there. But here's this witch making $50,000 a month with 2 posts and a moon ritual every month. And I'm like, she's fucking right. She's right. It is carnival barkers. And then she was talking about, Instagram is just like, it's just for people who want to show off, and, girls who want to show off their ass and guys want to show off their cars. All right.
Maxim magazine.
And I get it. I mean, if you can accept it for that and like thrive in that chaos, which I happen to be able to do these days, but I'm not going to say
doing well, by the way. I do like that.
I'm glad. I'm one of the few guys my age and of, my.
And you're a Californian. Why are you calling people puddin'? Isn't that like a Southern American thing?
Puddin'? No, I got that from a Suicide Squad.
Oh. It's like somebody from Kansas would call you puddin', or Texas or something like that.
Yeah. Rational Trucker. Sorry, I'm going to read this really quickly. If you do No-fap November, female-led relationships preceded with Locktober. Yeah, I know. People, please don't send me your like fetish porn shit with like fucking dick cages and all this other bullshit. I'm good now. I got enough between Instagram and everybody emailing me these links. Okay, like save that shit for like Sterling Cooper. Okay. I love her to death, but that's some domo shit. So stay, put that over there and ask her about it. Maybe she probably have a better opinion on that than I would.
Yeah.
But to lock it up, by the way, I failed NoFap because I wrote this super with one hand. Seriously, can reducing fapping help men be less sedated? And that's where I kind of wanted to go with the conversation today is, yes, it's possible. And I think like when I talk about sedation, like when I don't give prescriptions, I don't think you really give prescriptions per se, right?
Very, very few, very few.
But one of the things, I mean, if you look at the byline for Rule 0, what is it? Actionable information. And we did that. And people wonder, like, where did that come from? Well, we did that because we're not actually giving you prescriptions and telling you what to do. We're not giving you 12 rules for life. We're giving you actionable information. What you do with that should be the action that you take, right?
Well, that's the whole point of it. It's not the information itself. It's teaching you. It's not telling you what to think. It's showing you how to think. And then when you're able to think for yourself, your mental point of origin, like you've put it so many times, guys are able to make better decisions for themselves. What we say isn't necessarily true. We try to, but it doesn't have to be. As long as it makes you make better decisions, then it's good enough. I always call it the first beneficial bait and switch for men in history.
Yeah, exactly. Well, You know, when we throw out like I mean you wrote the book Praxeology, right? When we talk about the red pill as being a praxeology, I think that's like a $10 word for people, unless
they don't get it at all.
What's the economist Mises or whatever the fuck his name is, or unless you're like part of that sort of, you know, that niche right there, the libertarian niche. You don't really know what a praxeology is, because really people think that like economists own the word praxeology. No, they don't. Actually, it's Greek. Thanks.
Yeah. Dude, the worst thing is people will say that philosophy or ideology, and I'm like, no, it's a praxeology. Like, whatever. It's like, no, I'm not being pedantic. This is literally the fundamental thing here.
It's not praxeologism. Yeah. That's not what it is. No,
but your reference to the manual is the best thing, right? Refer to it. Just think of like auto mechanics, right? It's not what cars are good and bad. It's about an engine. You want to fix an engine, do this.
Right.
So far, that's the only thing that seems to get through to people's heads.
Well, when we talk about like actionable information, that's not me like giving you a prescription. It's giving you the information, saying, you know what, maybe for you, this might work. It's like reading 48 Laws of Power. It doesn't mean you're going to use every fucking law of power. And some of those are very unethical, right?
And they all have the reciprocal. Everything has its opposite.
Right.
So either do this or do the opposite of this. So
Right.
they've got all their bases covered.
Right.
You're really forced to think for yourself then.
Yeah, exactly. And then what happens is people think that that's an instruction manual. That's why it was made illegal to be in the like federal prisons or something like that. They're in their library.
Really?
Right? When it first came out in like 98, I think is when it came out.
That'd be like banning Marilyn Manson from high schools after Columbine.
Because all the prisoners were suddenly reading like how to be power and like how to kick ass and like how to be like more Machiavellian and dark triad, right? And that's what they were worried about. But the thing is it's not an instruction manual. It's not like, okay, Rollo, I got to law number 14 and I can't wait to get to number 18. I'm like, that's not what it's about. It's not an instruction manual. It's just simply, that's like, I look at like the Iron Rules of Tomasi as I do like 48 Laws of Power. I'm not saying you have to learn these things and use them and it's like some sort of step by step, although people want it because you put numbers on anything and that's what they think.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's actionable information. So when we talk about NoFap, or I talk about like how guys like, what can I do to be better, right? Look at what is sedating you and then eliminate what is sedating you. Because to me anyways, it's that, and that seems to me like actionable information.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what's sedating you. Maybe it's jerking off. Maybe it's prescription opioids. Maybe it's smoking too much weed. Maybe you're an alcoholic. Maybe you're just a lazy fat fuck and you need to get in the gym. Like there's a whole, or maybe you play too much fucking League of Legends or.
Well, yeah. Another explanation I've heard of is consumptive versus productive hobbies.
Yeah.
Are you just consuming other things or are you making your own things?
I got the perfect example for you for that. But yeah, it's so when it comes to NoFap, I can make the case that you shouldn't jerk off, or you shouldn't, because if you're addicted to porn, and I'm sure guys are effectively addicted to porn, and I don't want to say addicted.
Isn't it compulsion more not an addiction?
It's habituation is what it is.
Oh.
And it could be compulsion, especially if you mix it with OCD for sure. But like if you mix that, if you have a personality disorder, you have a clinical psychological disorder, and you mix that with porn, or you mix that with ideology, or you mix that with the blue pill, or you mix that with whatever else, it's just that much harder for you to break that, right?
So you mean it's like those people that every time they leave the house, they got to touch their doorknob 4 times, but in this case, it's their dick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Father, son, whatever. What is it like? Wallet, watch. I forget.
Testicles and spectacles, testicles, wallet, and watch.
I forget. I'm glad you know that because maybe Aaron Clary knows that. I don't know anybody else who does.
Oh, dude, Catholics back in the day, man, they were so much fun. The girls, 3 holes. One's for Jesus, the other 2 are for you. Thank you, madam.
But so if I say, hey, NoFap has some merit, it has some credibility to it, in terms that if it breaks you from being sedated and getting out there and doing something, and if it's something that motivates you and maybe you're frustrated, maybe it pisses you off, maybe you're just like, fuck, I'm hungry, I got hangry because I'm not jerking off anymore and I'm constantly in the state of sedation or satiation, I should say. And if that is what prompts you to get out of the house and go to the gym or go to the club or go to wherever it is that you go, I don't know, wherever you're meeting girls at, if that's what it takes, then that's what you should probably do. Right?
Maybe it's just a time thing. That 20 minutes a day you were spending on it is 20 minutes you could spend doing anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. What do you like, for instance, for guys? Well, and I know this because I work with them, me being 25 years in liquor, wine, and spirits, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know guys who have been alcoholics, right? Who kick, right? They're like, I'm no longer an alcoholic. I went to a couple meetings. I'm done. I haven't had a drink in 10 years, right? what they will tell you, and I can tell you this from personal experience too, because I don't drink anymore. I haven't had a drink since
Oh, you're still on that.
November of 2017. Yeah, I'll tell you if you want to know the story, Bob.
Well, I remember the story. You told me it was just one day you just like, I'm busy. I got things to do. You just stopped.
That's actually a good. That's a good place to start. When I stopped drinking, it was because I was writing book 4. And I had to put more of myself into that book than any other book I've ever done. That was a religion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to have everything had to be perfectly. All the sources had to be cited. It's one of my 2 books that have an appendix to it, and all the sources are cited in it. You can go look up every single source that I cite in book 4, and I had to be bulletproof because everybody has something to say about their own religion, right? So
yeah.
I had to know what the fuck I was talking about. I had to go through a lot of interviews. I had to talk to ask a Jew, ask a Muslim, ask a Christian, ask a Catholic, like that kind of stuff. And so it took me 3 years to write that book. But when I decided to stop drinking, I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop drinking until I finish this book. And then when I publish, I'll celebrate by getting schnockered, right? Getting up, right? But I found out that when I stopped, I was a much more efficient person, right? I wasn't hungover. I didn't have to think about I never got a DUI. I never been to a AA meeting or anything like that. But I stopped and I realized, man, I am way more productive when I'm not like recovering from a Friday or a Saturday night. Yeah. And then I have to get back to neutral again. And then from there I can start writing again. And I simply couldn't do both at the same time. So I stopped. And then I published the book in 2021, and I'm like, why would I pick it up again? I don't need it. And I'm a much more efficient, much more productive human being as a result of that. So if that's what was semi-sedating me, I'm glad I gave it up. And so now I can be more productive. But the guys who do that, and I went through the same thing, is you get to the point where it's like you have so much extra time because you're not like sleeping it off. Mm-hmm. I got a headache or some shit like that. You're nursing a headache or a hangover all the time. You're like, I have to do with myself. And you get creative and you start doing things that you start acting in ways, or you learn new habits as a result of the fact that you're not drinking and you're not sleeping it off and you're not wasting time doing whatever the fuck you were doing when you were drinking. And now you have all this extra time. It's like, you're like, what the fuck do I do?
Well, and great example too. So I don't drink much anymore. I used to drink a lot. I mean, I was a sailor, of course, but even now, like I still do drink, but 2 drinks. Like I have a drink. I have 2 drinks. I don't have 5 drinks. It's the same thing as you. I think a lot of guys think this means temperance. You have to give it up forever. That's like the extreme no-fap. You need some extreme life-changing event, an extreme life-changing thing. It's like, no, you just decided one day I'm busy. I got better stuff to do. And then you did it. And me, it's like, yeah, I crossed the line at like 1, maybe 2 for the same reasons. And for these guys that like the no-fap or whatever woo-woo magic people want to think of, sometimes it is a case of just cut back, make a sacrifice. When I bought my first house, same thing like you said. I needed to get $20,000 down payment. And so I went without a car. I jogged to work all the time. I ate like the beans and rice meals for a year to save up a down payment. When you want to do something, you have to sacrifice those consumptive habits until you can achieve them. And then, what I've found a lot of the time is that you just don't have a desire to go overboard after you've achieved them because it's just that habit's not there anymore.
I think a lot of people would make the comparison that it's, and you'll hear Jordan Peterson and Alex Hormozy and what's the other dude? Huberman. Is it Andrew Huberman? Andrew Huberman.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They'll say the same thing like, well, you need to put off your immediate dopamine wants. And, dopamine is your hedonistic, id side of your personality. And then the ego side or the super ego is your, what is it? Not dopamine, but what's the other one?
Serotonin, oxytocin.
Yeah. That's your serotonin speaking. And you need to have like long-term, like valuable things that put you in a better place. And I'm like,
that drives me nuts, man. Like it's such a, one sentence, we can articulate that. They had to swaddle it in so much bullshit.
Yeah.
You don't need any of that. You're busy, get something else done, sacrifice a little. No. We got to mention the unicorns and the endorphins. And it's like, shut up.
Yeah.
Why do you have to confuse people? It's such a simple statement. I think, wasn't it you that taught me or showed me about that? Is that you can tell somebody's bullshitting when they had to obfuscate what they're talking about by, baffling you with bullshit?
Yeah, baffle garble. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pseudo profound bullshit. In fact, what was it? There's actually studies of this. I got it from I think it was Rolf Dengen or Rob Henderson. They're saying that pseudo profound bullshit was more believable if people thought it came from like the Dalai Lama, Pope, or like Confucius, or you can just make up anything and then you can attribute it to somebody who you think is supposed to be some, like
ethos, man. 100% ethos.
Marcus Aurelius, or St. Augustine, or whoever that,
Well, you did that for a while there with the new age bullshit generator, and it was just selling like hotcakes. Everybody was loving it. Like, dude, Rollo's pivot is great. And like, fuck.
One time I did this experiment, right, where I'm like, I bet you anything. I think I let you in on this. I bet you anything. You could go to like the Tao Te Ching, right, and you could just go and copy and paste like stanzas from the Tao Te Ching, put it on Instagram or put it on Twitter, and don't like attribute it. Just leave it up there, and people will think you're a fucking genius. And you know what? I had to stop because it worked. Like, people worked way too well. People really want that shit. They really want to think that it's like daily affirmations. They really want to have something like there used to be this
calendar on your desk. You rip it apart and get a nice pithy saying that you can talk about in the water cooler.
There used to be, and if you maybe I'm dating myself with this, but my mom used to have this little plastic bread box, and it had all these little like Bible verses that were in the bread box. It was called Our Daily Bread, right?
Dude, my grandma had that.
And you read the scripture or whatever it says, kind of thing, and you put it back. And it's like daily devotionals or some shit like that.
Yeah.
I looked at that and I was go, that's what these guys want.
Yeah.
Except it's not Bible. They want it from the Tao Te Ching, or they want it from Buddha, or they want it from like Gandhi, or they want it from some they want these pithy little one-liners that sound like proverbs. And if they attribute it to you, that's when you get to be cult of person. That's you turn into Andrew Tate, right?
Russell Brand,
right? Yeah.
Joe Rogan.
And I hate that it's so reliably, predictably,
Well, that's the thing. It's almost like I understand from an Evo Psych perspective why we have religion. And clearly there's an innate need for it, and there probably was a benefit to it back in our hunter-gatherer days, which I'm pretty sure the information economy in the industrial age, it doesn't really work so much anymore. But I mean, biology doesn't change in 100 years. It'll be a couple thousand before we start shedding this stuff if it's useless. And if it's useful, then whatever, it'll keep going.
Yeah. Well, I've always struggled against this, and I had to actually sort of make concessions for this when I did the fourth book. But like, the thing is like, whenever you try to write something that is in some way profound, right? And there's nothing more profound than like challenging people on their ideologies or their philosophies or their religion or something like that.
Right.
That's why, like I said, it took me like 3 years to write the fourth book. So I had to be bulletproof on the book. And I think I am. Unfortunately, nobody cares now because I spent 3 years doing this and it was a real pain in the ass. Oh, great. Thanks, Rollo. What's your next book? Player's Handbook. Yeah, give me that one. I want to learn how to get my dick wet.
Give me more product, Rollo.
3 years. No.
The MCU Rollo Tomasi.
I quit drinking for you, you fucking assholes. But the long and the short of it is that like you can't talk about that stuff. You can't like talk about ideology, or you can't talk about like data. You can't talk about that thing until you tell people how to feel about it, right? Because if you don't, they will hate you for not telling them. They would rather not talk about data and truth and like objective truth or stats or anything like that. They would rather determine why you're telling them that in the first place, and if you're a good person or you're a bad person for having done that.
Yeah, well, I have a theory on this.
Go ahead.
I have a theory. You remember for a while there, YouTube, if you just let it autoplay, by every third video, it'd be a Jordan Peterson lecture. I don't know if you remember this time, like 2016 to 2020. And there was so many people I actually knew in real life who would watch like a hour-long Jordan Peterson lecture, and then they'd come to me and they would talk about, oh, I just learned about this great, but they couldn't articulate what they just learned. They felt like they had just learned some wisdom. But if I ask them about it, the best you'll get is they'll send you a link. Like, here, watch this. It'll change your life. To me, I'm wondering, is it almost that people don't want to learn? They just like the feeling of learning? The emotionality of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's also sunk cost too. So you have to when I was studying, for my degree in behavioral psychology, right? One of the experiments that I had to actually cover and write about was there was this one experiment where they got a bunch of college students together, and they'd say, and they were struggling like with a particular class, could be history or English, whatever the hell it was. and they were supposed to go to a tutorial thing. It was a free tutor kind of thing. And they were supposed to spend like an hour a week or maybe 2 hours a week.
I remember this.
But the way that the tutor was engineered was not to help them get a better grade. And so, but they thought, okay, well, because you're getting a D- or whatever, you're getting a C or whatever, you go to this tutorial thing and it will help you, right? But the thing is that they were designed to absolutely not help the person. And as a result, they either had the same grade or they had a grade step lower afterwards. And then they did a poll, or then they did the real experiment. The research was they polled these people afterwards and they said, do you think that you benefited from the 2 hours you spent every week for that class? And every single one of them said, yeah, it was a net benefit for me, even when they knew that their grade stayed the same or it dropped.
Yeah.
They didn't want to feel like they were wasting their time. It's a sunk cost fallacy is basically what it is, but it's more elaborate in the sense that like here's somebody who's invested quite a bit of time, like a semester, basically doing like spinning their wheels, but they did not want to admit that it was completely useless, because people don't want to feel stupid, right?
Yeah, well, and correct me if I'm wrong. It's not even that they're doing this to lie to themselves. Like their brain actively, their ego protects them from even knowing this. So in their mind, they truly believe that it did help.
Mm-hmm.
If that is how it went, wasn't it? It's not that they're lying to themselves, that their psyche lied to them.
Oh yeah, they would pass a polygraph test if you said, "Hey, do you think it really helped?" They go, "Yeah," and they would pass the test, right?
Which is crazy too, because that is what women do, and it's like one of those examples of men being raised as defective women. Like that's a great way man acts like one.
Mm-hmm.
The abusive wife. Oh yeah, he only does that when he loves me, though. I just do such stupid things sometimes.
Yeah, start gaslighting yourself, and
yeah,
stuff in that position. But like, so when I look at, because people have called me on this, and I feel like I have to sort of like explain this shit.
Protect you from the flagpole. I get it.
But yeah, well, like when people say, "Well, Rolla, how come you're against No-fap?" I'm like, no, I'm not necessarily against No-fap in practice. I'm against No-fap in the sense that you think it's some magical like, chi energy that you're, you can, like you'll be able, like you don't jerk off enough and then you can levitate or you can like cast fireball or whatever the fuck it is, right?
Yeah.
And that's and I've heard people put it into sort of mystical terms, like was Elliot Hulse, like, oh yeah, if you stop touching yourself, you could project yourself astrally. I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
That was up there with his take on MGTOW.
Also have to remember that there is sort of some merit to it from an empirical sense, because if you're not touching yourself, it's something that's going to motivate you to get out there and get laid, or is it going to motivate you to do things that would get you laid, right? So you're like, okay, well, I have all this, I'm not drinking anymore. I'm not jerking off anymore. What am I going to do with all this energy and this time that I have? Well, you can, if you're smart about it, you can direct that discontent into something that's creative. And the people who do, I'm sure they want to find some mystical reason or some emotional reason to justify or verify why they feel the way that they do. And maybe it works for you. Maybe you're a better person as a result of it, but I can explain it empirically and you're going to explain it metaphysically.
Yeah, maybe it's a main character syndrome thing. They need the idea that I just fought the Death Star. They need to make it like a heroic journey. It can't just be, I just stopped drinking because I had to finish the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that mundaneness really drives people nuts then, because it's like, well, I'm just average. I'm normal. I'm not special. I'm not the one.
No, I'm not the one. I'm not Neo.
Yeah.
But I love it when they go across cultures or across philosophies or whatever. They go, ancient Tibetan monks didn't jerk off and they could levitate, right? And then they'll go, and also in the Old Testament, Father Abraham didn't jerk off and therefore he had he was the sired the tribes of Israel or some shit. Like there's some reason, for some magical mystical reason that has to go along with that, because that's just how some people are going to learn. They want to believe, right?
Well, they always have to go to some culture they know nothing about. It's always the culture you know the least about that has the most answers.
Yes.
It's like such a midwit sign of something.
Yeah.
God of the gaps. Well, I don't know what that is. I'm just going to call that God. Well, I don't believe in God anymore. Well, I'm just going to call that mysticism and ancient Chinese wisdom. It's like, really? Can you spell Chinese?
Like, have you spelled Chinese? I got this kanji on me or something that says power. It really doesn't. It says like stupid white guy or something. You don't know any different. I like what you said about going to different cultures to see and it doesn't necessarily have to be No-fap. It can be other things as well.
It's everything. Yeah. Yoga.
Like somebody threw this at me. They go, when they have like chimpanzees or they have like gorillas, whatever, primates in the wild, like the male primates don't jerk off at all, or they jerk off like very rarely, right? But you take the chimp and you put him into captivity, and he jerks off all the time.
So it's almost like it's a boredom thing.
Well, and then so what everybody wants to do is say, well, see, we're humans, we're like the chimps, even though we're not, because we want to talk about God and everything else. But we're in captivity, and that's why we jerk off all the time, right? And so if animals know, you don't.
Yeah, I aspire to be as good as a chimp. I think that's yeah. Really? The people that invented penicillin aren't good enough for you? You need to go back to monkey? Like, come on, brother. Yeah. We're better than I mean, we're not better than this, but we could be. We could be.
I think it really kind of goes back to the philosophical stuff. Like, it's wax on, wax off, right? The Karate Kid, right? You're not teaching me karate. You're just teaching me to do these movements and stuff like that. Yeah, but those movements are what will teach you the motor skills so that you can actually.
And in fairness, he didn't explain it. He just started punching at him, and then he's like, "Oh."
And he learned and he figured out how to do it, right? Because he's teaching muscle memory and stuff. Yeah. But so there is actually an empirical side to NoFap, but it's not probably what most people think that it actually is. But I've got a video here. We would probably have mostly just covered most of it anyways by going through this. But
what the hey? Show me somebody else talking about his dick to millions.
The biochemistry side of it, the whole thing is really what gets me on it. Let me see if I can dig it up. Once again, StreamYard is acting super slow right now, and I don't know if it's me or if it's Chrome. It's the new Chrome. Every time I do this, like I put like super chats on the screen, and it's like take forever to fade off. And people are saying that they don't see it on their end, but I see it on my end.
Maybe it must be a Mac thing, because I don't get that on my side with the new Chrome or anything.
I don't know. I just don't know what it's about. I've updated everything.
You should buy the new $3,000 iMac. That'll fix it. That fixes everything.
Yeah, mine's like about $3,000 as it is. Let me see if this will come out. I think this might work. Is this our girl?
Do you want me to fill the channel with noise while you look for it?
No. I got it already. I'm just trying. Oh, okay, I got the spinning wheel right now. There we go. This chick is gonna come up at all now.
The suspense is killing me, man.
I know.
I'm expecting this girl to come out like a 49ers cheerleader talking about dicks.
Seen it already, so
yeah.
Let's see. Try to close this.
Oh, this is.
There we go.
What's the rule of radio? No dead air.
Your
broke
device
the rule.
having trouble sharing the video. Try sharing again. Okay, fuck it. I'm just gonna forget it.
All right.
Try to do it.
No, and that's one thing I do. Okay, back to this while you find it out. Just put it up whenever. The one thing I do find I really make an effort for is when I talk about anything that I talk about, any of the stuff we do, I try to keep it as grounded and the lack of abstract in it. No inferences, no nothing. Because it's like everybody will fight tooth and nail to make things abstract and woo-woo. Even guys who get it.
Yeah.
I think it's just part of the human condition that we need to like abstract things away. It's probably some way of sheltering us emotionally from the consequences of our actions, or I'm sure there's some explanation for it. Who really cares?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I hate now. I did it once or twice till I realized I was doing it. Those people that start tweets by saying, imagine, and then they make up a destiny scenario that doesn't exist.
Right. And then from there, they move the goalpost, constantly moving the goalpost. Well, I didn't actually mean that. I meant if it was like this. And then does it take place in the United States, or does it take place in like Mexico, right? Or does it, it's really whataboutism is what it comes down to.
Would you like a prostitute that's extremely loyal to you, or a virgin with an OnlyFans account? It's like, really? What kind of point are we trying to make here? Other than you just want to make me say, I would love a prostitute, or I'd love an OnlyFans girl. It's like, come on.
Because it's a want for a binary answer.
Yeah.
And
that's that Spurg thing again, yeah.
Those kinds of questions, like when you ask like black or white questions like that, honestly, I look at those and I think that's really comes down to like, remember we talked about like believers versus empiricists? That's this.
I can see that.
To determine if you're a good guy or a bad guy, because only a bad guy will want to fuck a OnlyFans girl, right?
Yeah, or only a bad guy would shame women about their OnlyFans account.
Or only
tribe A or tribe B.
Only a bad guy, only a dirty coomer like you would promote like pornography and.
Maybe this is why you're on that flagpole, because you refuse to pick a side, and so you're on the fence, and that's why your butthole hurts.
For a lot of fucking reasons. Yeah. Well, I mean, because. Like,
dude, you make people so angry. I don't get it. You don't even raise your voice. Yet there's people that are absolutely livid. They're in the shower cussing you out, and I don't get it. I am way more abrasive than you, and you get 10 times the hate.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Well, because I you know what I think that is because it's not because what I'm saying, it's the questions that I'm prompting. And I think that like you were just saying a little while we were talking shit talking Pearl, right? Even my haters, even the people who want to stab me in the back constantly, they still use my material. They still use my lingo. They still use like the, you know, terminology from a book I wrote 10 fucking years ago.
Question, does that flatter you or bother you?
It depends on who it's coming from.
Like the fact that George Bruno is having like a 5-hour Why I Hate Rollo live stream and then he's reading from your book during it. Like, I don't know. There's an irony to it. I don't know if I would take it as a compliment or an insult.
You know, George Bruno's kind of come around since he's had his like epiphany about
yeah.
But yeah, I even my haters still use my material. Right. Even if they have to use it as a jump off point for a reaction video, you're still like, thank you. Like, please.
Oh, yeah. You're an ecosystem. 100%. An economic ecosystem on YouTube.
Yeah. And I tell you what pissed a lot of people off, but not to the point where they got like too irate. But I know it pissed them off. When I went on Dr. Phil, and I was essentially defending Andrew Tate during that whole thing. But
That's what they wanted.
I had to, because people associate what Andrew Tate says with me and my book, because pretty much everything that he talked about up to the point where he got arrested anyways, has been a derivative of my book. Whatever Pearl talks about, derivative of my book. Myron Fresh, right? I mean, Myron's the first one will throw credit at me too. It's like, even the stuff he comes up with, and he does. I really think Myron's good at what he does, but it still was inspired and it's a derivative from my book. And
come a long way since 33 Secrets and Coach Red Pill.
Actually do that. That was Patrice O'Neill or Tom Likas, right? I'm like,
or who's the guy, the black guy who died
years ago? Patrice O'Neill.
No, the other one, the one on the internet. He kept yelling at women.
It's Kevin Samuels.
Yeah, same thing. Rollo's just ripping off Kevin Samuels. I'm like, no, really?
That's when you know you've made it, when people accuse you of plagiarizing yourself.
Yeah.
Has it really been that long? Yeah.
I feel bad that there's like multiple people that have died recently that are like stealing your material that I got a name. The other one.
Yeah, because guilty. Yeah, because you can't. Thank you for that $100 super chat. Very much, Sean.
Hey, speaking of which, he got real quiet once he married that porn star or whatever the heck she was.
Is that what she
Guilty
is?
Boy. I don't know. She's something nude. I don't know what. I didn't really pay too much attention. I only hear it like a little bit.
I only know that he knocked her up before and then had to marry. It's like a shotgun wedding, man. In Florida.
Whatever happened to his brag about the private ceremony?
Who knows?
Man. I just saw somebody sent me the thing of him on Instagram, and he looks like a swamp family. And I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, he's a non-issue now. But to be
well, I got an ad for it. I got to keep this memory alive, or the ad's not funny.
Yeah, to be replaced by the next hot fucking mess that pops.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah, the third one, Alan Roger Curry.
I know you can't.
There's like 3.
I liked Alan too. The thing that could kill me about Alan is like he got involved. He got too wrapped up with Anthony's bullshit.
Yeah.
But Alan and I, like, he was one of the first like audio interviews I ever did was with Alan Roger Curry, and even when I wrote my last book, when I put out Player's Handbook, and I was talking about direct game versus indirect game, I tried to throw him a bone. Kudos for him. But I'm just saying, like, it's just one more form of game, right?
Oh yeah.
But when your entire revenue stream is based on like this is the only way, well, then it becomes a threat. So
yeah,
I was actually trying to be like complimentary to him. But
what's that saying? You can't believe a thing if your paycheck depends on not.
Yeah, more or less. Red pill as a praxeology is well needed for the average man if it will have the impact that overcomes much of the nonsense that was noticed so long ago. Anyways, I'm gonna go play Morrowind. Good for you, bro. Araceli Morin, thank you for that. I see your $150 HNL. What is that? What currency?
Hong Kong, New Zealand? I don't
I've
know.
never been more aware of world currencies than when I started doing super chats. Iron Frame. By the way, Iron Frame, your name is on Ned's cast. Thanks for that $9.99. Did
Honduras? Lempiras.
Did you see the argument between Sneeko, Myron, and Fresh on After Hours? No, I try not to watch anything Sneeko does. I actively avoid that. Sneeko had a real issue with competition anxiety for women, describing it as her being in emotional turmoil. Well, until he comes to like until Sneeko comes of age, I wouldn't really take anything he says too seriously.
Yeah.
Sneeko is just a freaking. He's all brand. There's nothing to him. He's
He's not even a brand. He's like AI. If people just plug an idea into him and he runs with it.
Yeah, more or less.
Wasn't that the meme where like somebody tells him something? He's like, "Oh yeah, that sounds good," and then like Islam. Oh, that sounds good. And he puts on a turban and red pill is great. And he's like, "Oh, that's good."
I tell you the whole thing. And if Islam was so like vehemently against like being offended and everything, why are you not like running him up the flagpole right now? Like if I was Muslim, and I know, you and I both know several Muslims that our private communities, but like if I was, I would be really pissed off. Like especially like I'm not advocating anything by saying this, but like if you look at like what was it, the Charlie Hebdo thing where they went and killed those cartoonists for like misrepresenting or like parodying the Prophet Muhammad, right? Willing to do that, but Sneeko here is going to pretend to be a Muslim for a while, and then he's not, and then he goes and starts doing whatever the fuck he's doing right now, and you're not pissed off at that. I don't know, maybe help me understand, because I simply
it's the same as Chris. Even Mish was pointing this out because his dad was a theologian, and he would show every Tate post Islam conversion video. He would show him like 5 different Islamic commandments that he was breaking. Drinking whiskey, smoking, having his nuts hanging out of his swim trunks, like anything. He's like, everything here is not haram. But yeah, they don't care. I think it's the same as where I said they don't want to learn, they want to feel like they're learning. I don't think people want to be religious. I think they want to feel like they're religious and they belong to a club.
Oh man, I love Rob Henderson. I don't know if you're familiar with his work or if you ever follow him and stuff like that. So he's also on Substack, and another thing that he was just writing about was his reading habits, right? And how like his words, not mine. He claims to read like 40 to 50 books a year, like cover to cover, like the actual physical book, right? Not listening to it on Audible or whatever. He had a really interesting take. He says, listening to your books on Audible is like what, drinking your vegetables instead of eating your vegetables. That's pretty good, man. But and then some stuff he skims through, and he's like a very voracious like reader, and I try to be as much as I can, but then I'm also a writer, so I have to sort of like balance that out, and so are you, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things that he talked about when he was talking about how I read, and now he didn't give like necessarily book suggestions or here's my book list, right? Most people want a book list because they want to be like you. What does my hero read, right?
Oh, the Lex Friedman book list. I remember that.
Well, it's much easier to ask like your hero, like, what do you eat for breakfast? And what's your workout routine? What is your reading list? And
when do you wake up in the morning?
You wake up in the morning and you take cold showers and blah, 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 blah. As if that's the key to success. No, it's not. It's like it's fucking 60-hour work weeks. It's no days off. That's the secret to their success.
Yeah, being in the right place, the right time, and the right niche. Like, there's so much to it.
Not their fucking breakfast.
Startup capital. Good parents.
Eat with. Yeah, exactly. But people want that quick, easy answer for them. And then so he was talking about how it takes effort and concentration to read. It's a different skill than like reading something on social media or listening to a podcast. And I kind of agree, because podcasts, as we were saying before, Twitter right now is all parody accounts. I'm saying that sort of like tongue in cheek, but it's kind of true. Like there's a kernel of truth to that. But when you look at podcasts, they're all entertainment. And so when people call my podcast a pod class, I'm flattered by that, because I'm glad. I want people to be able to learn something. But I'm playing to 769 people right now. I'm not playing to 40,000 people like Tim Pool is, or H3H3, who regularly, and I don't know fucking how.
How does he do that?
65,000 people per stream. Even Brian from fucking whatever podcast, and I know how he does it because he makes a shit ton of money. He basically farms super chats and more. And kudos, man. Here should make it rain for Brian.
Yeah.
But you're not learning anything from Brian. You're not learning anything from Tim or certainly not from H3H3. But you're being entertained. And I remember when what was it? Tim Pool like broke the 45 or 40,000 live viewers per like episode, wherever he's fucking doing it, and his time slot, he actually had a bigger audience than CNN at that time.
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm like, for what? Because it's entertaining. It's not education.
Well, it's Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah.
It's the right-wing morning radio. Those damn liberals are taking your freedoms.
Yeah.
Let me tell you more about these godless heathens.
Yes, right after this ad for gold. My pillow.
Yeah, I know, and I remember this as like an 80s kid and an early 90s kid. Remember that, where every dystopic video or movie you ever watched always had like a TV with a dude talking to you? And now I realize we're living that now. Tim Pool is that talking head in 1984 that's telling you what to think and entertaining.
Oh, yeah. Max Headroom.
Yeah. Yeah, the Max Headroom. The only thing he's missing is the stutter.
Yeah, MTV.
It depresses me, though. It's just like, oh my God, we used to talk about this stuff like this is when the world is over. And now we're like, oh. Now we're using Super Chat. Set up $5. Huxley right now was right. Wasn't that the thing? Huxley was right?
Is that the one where like we are entertaining ourselves to death?
Yeah, the 1984 versus Brave New World.
I thought it was Brave New World versus what was the other one?
I thought it was 84.
Stranger in a Strange Land. Weren't those the two competing books, like the sci-fi books? One was we're entertaining ourselves to death, and the other one was, I don't know.
Yeah, the information being controlled, or that we just don't bother to look anymore because we're sedating ourselves.
Right.
Basically, no fap for the brain.
My Mike Geo, hi Rolo, all your books. I've read all your books in my life. Well, thank you for proving me wrong. Oh, do you think that all women are the same? No. You generalize their behavior in the books. Love and thanks.
I don't think it is love and thank you.
No, I don't think so either. Thanks. I think.
Are all guns loaded, Mike?
Yes.
Well, why are we treating all guns as if they're loaded? Is that because we don't want to get shot? Well, if you didn't trust that gun, you wouldn't have to worry about that.
Well, we all make generalizations no matter what. Yeah. That's just that. In fact, that's how science works, right? We go, well, what was the pool of people who we were, experimenting with, who we surveyed, right? A smaller pool or a broader pool? Which one do you think works better? Right? Everybody thinks in terms of generalizing. And so, well, it's different from sweeping generalization. Well, let me see if I can answer the question here. Is like, yeah, it's not that every woman will, it's that any woman can. That's really the long and the short of it.
And do you remember Purarchy back in the day?
The name rings.
Yeah, it was pickup artists that got disenfranchised, and this is why that generalizing thing makes sense. These guys got dissatisfied because after dating 100 women, you started to realize they fit into like 3 or 4 categories. So yeah, the generalization works. They made them very sad, and it kind of is like when somebody asks like the all women, it kind of lets you know they just don't have experience.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And so, the other thing that gets me is like when someone goes and says like, I'll make a point, like it's an unflattering truth about women. Right? That the instant I know there's going to be probably half a dozen guys that are going to be like, well, what about guys? If you're not talking about guys that as well, men do it too, and it's worse. And let me tell you why, because I'm an encyclopedic expert on this shit, right? Like,
I always just tell them I'm not fucking men, so guy. I don't care.
Yeah,
let the girls deal with that one.
So you're that guy, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, we got you. Yeah, God forbid a man do something solely for his own enjoyment. How shameful! Now get back on the plantation. Thank you.
I can't even blame girls for saying that either, because it works so well. Like I would go up to that trough every chance I got if it worked.
Yeah. Well, and then exactly, because there always has. You'll notice this is like I threw this out there. I want to talk about boundaries too, because I think that'd probably be a good line of talking.
Better than talking about jerking off.
Yeah, right. How do you do it? Let me show you the ways. Oh, you want to talk about double standards? Somebody showed me this. I don't even know what the hell to call it, but it's not a fleshlight. It's like some kind of like.
Is that the one that had the bikini bottom on it?
It's like a dick piston. I mean, that's the best way I can like.
Yeah, this is like a jackhammer. It was the craziest thing.
The dick piston show. No, it was like some kind of thing. I would like. It looked like a flashlight, but it was like on a rail.
And it had like 2 grips on it, like a 50 cal.
Yeah, and they're like, man, I need the industrial strength shit. I'm really addicted to porn, and I need this. Right? Somebody threw this out there, and they want to say how it's so shameful you're jerking off and blah blah blah, and. I was looking at it, and then of course the next thing is like, women get all upset about this, and then they go and buy like 9 different vibrators, and they're all, oh, bro, you go, girl, you're empowered. And I looked at that, and maybe this will put the last final period on the no-fap, no nuts, don't touch your dicky, semen retention topic here. But there's also the sort of the unspoken double standard of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the points I made, and if you actually read the essay, the pheromonal beta, I make. Am I 100% accurate? I don't know, but these are the questions that keep me up at night. The behaviors that a guy displays, like after he gets off, or the behaviors the guy displays or manifests because he hasn't got off in a long time, those are going to be something that women are going to pick up on, whether it's subconsciously or whatever. I throw it in terms of like being pheromones. It might not actually be pheromones, but it might be like sort of subconscious cues that a woman sort of, subcommunication.
Just tells.
That tells that she picks up on. This is a guy who fucks. This is a guy who doesn't fuck. This guy looks like he's interested. He doesn't look like he is interested. He looks like he's catatonic because he jerked off before, half an hour before we went on this date. There's still going to be behavior sets that come from guys who jerk off a lot and then guys who don't. And so the guys who don't, they're going to have a different frame of mind. They're going to have a different behavior set. They're going to be much more, upfront about things because they're fucking hungry, right? There's a difference between a hungry guy and a guy who just had a big, nice meal, right? And so there's going to always be those aspects of like the behavioral aspects of that. But then it goes back to like, why is it that masturbation is shameful for men, but it's empowering for women?
I already know your answer on this one too.
I know what it is. What do you think? What's my answer? Tell me what my answer.
Well, I have an essay on this. No, your answer is going to be when girls jill off, it's to signal sexual availability.
Right.
When guys jerk off, it signals sexual scarcity.
Yes. More or less.
It's almost like I read your goddamn books.
The handful.
I pay attention when you do your podcasts.
People who've read them. Like Justin Waller. There's too many big words in this. Hello, Jay, but man, they're not that many $10 words.
Yeah.
But no, exactly right. Because men who have sexual access don't or shouldn't need to jerk off, and women who are like masturbating and are in touch, that means they're in touch with their sexuality, and it's a cue for sexual availability. Yeah. The other part of it is if you're the guy who displays those cues of somebody who does jerk off all the time, or more often than not, you're less motivated. That's number one. But the other thing is that if you're doing that, you're an incel, right? It's shameful for you to have the penis piston or whatever the fuck it is, right?
Yeah.
But it's not if the girl wants to go have a lingerie party and a sex toy party like it's a fucking Avon, meeting or some shit like that. That's empowering. So sex for women is empowering, but for sexual expression for men is shameful, and it's a sign. If you're upfront about it, you're talking, like, even just for me to say, you know what, I happen to like all the women that are on our show. I every last one on Access Vegas. Oh, they got fake tits. They got this. I have no problem with fake tits. And
what's their problem with science?
But by me saying I have no problem with fake tits, that's me as a man being sexually expressive. I love fake tits. I love a nice ass. I love a flat.
See, it's funny. I'm Team Natty.
Yeah.
They look great. They just feel weird.
I don't think enough guys even know what a natural tit looks like these days. Again, porn and Instagram and everything. It would be funny to. I mean, in some women it's very obvious, right? Yeah. But like, I think that most guys couldn't even tell you what a natural tit looks like, especially if it's a good boob job, right? But either way, by me saying that, that's me being sexually expressive, right? I have a preference for, let's see, thin, a thigh gap. It doesn't have. I don't really care what ethnicity you are, what your hair color is. All as long as you're hot, right?
I assumed you wanted those '80s perms. That was your thing.
Athletic, big hair. Okay, I got a soft spot for that. I like what I like, right? And what was it? Was it Mr. Beast was talking with what's his face from?
The comedian guy Schultz.
With Andrew Schultz. And has he been canceled? Did they kill his channel for that?
No, but he did grift it. Like, everybody's like, nobody's gonna cancel Mr. Beast, but he's saying they're trying to cancel him. It just means he's getting hate messages from chicks
because he has preferences for. And
they weren't even crazy preferences. He wanted a girl that had hobbies other than dating Mr. Beast.
Yeah. And it wasn't exactly. He didn't say, I need chicks with fucking double D's and she's got to have a thin waist and she's got to take it anal and all. He didn't say anything like that.
Yeah. And it's not made up. He's like, I've dated girls and this is what tends not to work. So I don't like this anymore. So it was, you can't even say he's lying. He's like, he experienced it. He knows this is the stuff he's into.
Mm-hmm. So,
but I noticed the one girl that gave him shit over that, it's because she was an author. And it's because he talked about a girl on there. It's like, oh, you write books. That's great. That's a great hobby. That girl then assumed, oh, he's talking about me. And it's not a hobby for me. This is my passion. I'm a genius. Solipsism, right? He must have been talking about me specifically.
Recognize my authority.
Yeah.
But I looked at that and I go, why are they coming at Mr. Beast? Especially Mr. Beast, man. I mean, take away his money and like ladies, really, come on, Mr. Beast.
He's like as milquetoast as Friedman. Like, what can you get mad at him for?
You take away the gravitas, and you take away the money, and you take away the social proof of, like, you know, the, I don't know, internet celebrity that goes along with that. And you look at the guy just from like a physical aspect. He's the guy. They see the kid that's over in the corner, like, going, man, if they only knew it was Mr. Beast.
Yeah, mid, basically mid.
More, and not saying anything away from the guy, but it's like, I mean, you break guys down to, like, you put everybody on the same level, you know, playing field. He doesn't get selected. He only gets selected because he's Mr. Beast, right?
Yeah.
But again, he's being sexually expressive as a guy, and even like in the mildest, most, you know, measured way of expressing that to Andrew Schultz, right? Oh, she checked off all these great lists. You know, she was great. He didn't say, like, oh, she's got, you know, she's got a perfect thigh gap. He didn't say anything like that. But
it would be funny if he did, though.
But
I would love it.
So one of the things I think, to sort of put the period at the end of the NoFap thing, is that I'm going to quote Royce from 2009. Right?
Nice.
Feminism is the purpose, or the function of the latent purpose of feminism, is to maximally restrict men's sexual expression, men's sexuality, while maximally exploding or maximally unleashing women. I'm paraphrasing. Unleashing women's sexuality.
Yeah.
That was Royce in 2009. And here we are in 2023 watching this play out for the last, 10, 15 years. And
people still think it's an ideology. It's not. It's not. It's a tactic.
No.
That's why it's all contradictory, because it's all about me, give me more and you less.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, exactly. And not even so much to the point where maximally restricting men's sexuality, right? Well, you can't have a dick piston. You can't have a fucking flashlight. You can't like what you like. How dare you?
You can't have an advertisement for pocket pussies on your whatever podcast.
Yeah, or sex dolls on your
yeah.
Yeah, how dare you do something like that?
How dare you, sir?
Yeah, how dare you?
It's a good Christian household with a sex doll.
Yeah. You can't do that. But we can talk about on whatever podcast, we can talk about we can talk goodness. Speaking of sexual expression,
our neighbor's got a big dog, and so our little guy's a little jealous. Every time he barks, he decides it's time to go to town.
Keep him away.
Yeah.
But it's male sexual expression will always be something that, even just hinting at it. Like, for instance, I say I like the girls with the big tits on my show, right? There, people go, "Oh my God, how cringe!" Oh my, But if the woman says, "I like guys with big dicks," oh, tell us more. That hits 7 million, views on whatever YouTube Shorts there are. Maximally restricting it.
Well, that was why I want to attribute this to Royce too, but I can't say for sure. Mm-hmm. It's as a man, and he didn't say red pilled because it wasn't a thing at the time. He's like, as a man, you just have to be without shame, because that's the one tool they use against you, shaming you.
Mm-hmm.
And social media amplifies it. So that's when you're like, you can't say this. It's one of those questions that you ask yourself. Well, who says you can't? What are the consequences? Oh, some girl lives in India right now is going to yell at me, and she has a lot of followers. It's like, oh, okay. Mm. And I think as a guy, it's freeing once you realize, like, I don't need everybody to validate me. I don't need everybody to agree with me. Mm. I'm okay being a bad guy. I'm okay being run up the flagpole. Because even Tate, back when he was saying the worst of the worst, and everybody was hating him, there was like a cadre of women talking about, actually, he reminds me of my Iranian brother, and they were loving it. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be somebody that loves you. You'll be fine.
Well, I think the being unapologetic about it, that's a learned skill. That's a developed skill to have that Teflon, outer coating.
I have a question for you on that too. Mm-hmm. Here's the question. Is that an evolved sexual selection trait? Shaming men to filter for the kind of guys who
would push past it?
Who would push past it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say so. Really, I mean, it comes down to shit tests. Really, there are shit tests are by order of degree. So there could be something as small as like, oh, you like girls with big tits,
yeah,
right? Or it could be something like feminism is a hate movement, right?
Yeah,
going against like me against the fucking world, right? that's that they're by order of degree for sure.
Yeah, and I get it's not all, because if Jester starts shitting on feminism, it comes off as cringe, not as in like above shame.
Right.
So obviously that's only a part of it. So I get that.
Well, for instance, Zuby right now has been very vocal about like no fault divorce and prenups, and pretty much talking about the same thing you and I were talking about with Jim Sexton about like 2 months ago. Hell, back in August with Jim. But like I said, nice of you to catch up to the rest of us, Zuby. Finally, welcome, brother.
So this is what it's like to run an incubator.
But like finally, and so people were like, just because he is throwing out those tweets, which by the way is getting a good reaction to because he's Zuby, right? And but from me no less, like, hey, you fine, nice to have you on board finally, right? But he clearly has seen the Jim Sexton shows on Soft Light Underbelly, maybe our show, maybe who knows, wherever. But the fact that he's coming out, is what happens is that leads to other shit, right? So people go, oh, are you one of those red pill guys now? Are you following Andrew Tate? You must like Pearl because they're the only red pill people on the planet Earth, right?
Yeah, so, and then most guys tend to either apologize for it or dismiss it or backtrack.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Or they'll march it back, or else. And to his credit, he hasn't marched it back yet. Yet. But I told him this. I don't know if he's going to take it to heart, but like I said, you know what, Zuby, the next time you are in an interview with like Matt Walsh or Jeremy Waring or Shapiro or Candace Owens or whatever, maybe you bring some of this shit up because they sure as fuck don't want to talk to me about it. Maybe they'll talk to Zuby about it, right?
Yeah, you've been reply guying for months and nothing, not even a like from Matt Walsh. This is how disrespectful.
I did get a bite from Michael Knowles, but they wanted me to like sign this NDA. And after Dr. Phil, I ain't signing shit.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah, you come on my show, or I'll go on your show like we shake hands like fucking men and we go at it. And you want me to sign something? Fuck off. No, I don't do that. And anybody who has like a certain like level of gravitas, they won't do it either. So, nope. But that's how they want. That's how they operate. PP, thank you. Oh, where'd you go? There you go. PP. There you go. Thank you for your Yeah, and by the way, PP, your name is also on Ned's cast now too, my friends. Much appreciated. Oh boy. There we go. Wow, finally caught up. Nice.
Proud of you.
Yeah, finally. Right. Did I get to this guy? What is it? Rolo, how did you get over your BPD? You mean the girlfriend? BPD. I've read your stuff and left her, but can't seem to stop thinking about the sex and our past, of course, because it was probably good porn star sex. That's what BPDs do. That's how they keep you in the loop. That's how they keep you hooked on the.
Either way, it's the same way as getting off of heroin, even the same hormones. It's literally a heroin addiction.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just got to go cold turkey.
Yeah, you got to go cold turkey.
And get some methadone, which I think is like a slump buster.
Would you like me to tell you the story again? Because there was a point where it just got too unbearable for me, which was saying something because I put up with a lot of shit for years with that bitch. But I got to the point where we had this big blowout fight. I was in her dorm and it was late at night, and I looked at the door to her bedroom and I looked at the door to exit her dorm, and I was like sitting there contemplating anything. I said, I can either go in there and try to make things nice and try to patch things up again, or I can leave out of that fucking door and not look back. And that's exactly what I did. And yeah, it's hard. You have to really, especially when the sex is like porn star good sex, but you're like, yeah, but it's not worth it. It's not worth the fucking like neuroticism and just the fucking insanity, psychopathy that's involved in all that. You have to get to that point. And unfortunately, most guys don't get to that point. I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
When I got here, kudos to both Ryan and Rolo and Ryan and the work they do. Read their books. If you have not yet, yes, printed words for words, you youngsters. Yeah, please do. I agree. Do you agree with that? I think that reading is, well, certainly it's a skill. Comprehensively reading something is definitely a skill.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that like what he was talking about with respect to like social media, like reading social media or even reading blogs for that matter. That's for entertainment. If you're reading for education, it almost requires you to sit down with a book and like actually pore over that book. If that means like highlighting it or underlining it or whatever else, like it's like a text.
Well, you and I used to have the worst podcast you've ever had were us talking about this stuff in depth, like to the point where we're talking about typographic choices and how that affects the legibility. I agree. Books are more than just the words. There is the design choices that are made, the layout choices, the aesthetic choices. Like you even just saw my covers that I was going through for the book. Each one of those would completely change how somebody interprets what's inside of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also, I mean, even aside from that, just the books, you have to do more work on a book because a book has to be a certain size, which means whatever topic you're picking has to be broad enough that you can fill 75 to 100,000 words, but also narrow enough that it's not past 100,000 words, because then if somebody's reading the beginning of the book and they'll forget, or when they're reading the end of the book, they'll forget the beginning. So you kind of need to put it in that, was it you or somebody else? About 70 to 85,000 is a good range to have. And blogs don't have to worry about that. Blogs just have to make 500 words. You can't speak on any authority. You can't expand on ideas or any of that nonsense. So what you have to do is, and this is why we were talking with Dr. Seeger about your book, Rollo, and it was actually pretty impressive. He goes, yeah, most people, what they do on their first book is they just take their blog and they throw it into a book. And he's like, Rollo didn't do that. Rollo actually rewrote. You rewrote all of your posts and you did it again. And that's because it's a different, and I'm going to do Jordan Peterson, it's a different level of, what's that thing he talks about? Level of abstraction, level of detail or whatever.
Mm. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's abstraction. It's
level of analysis. Anyways, but that's the point. Yeah, your blog post, you can read your blog post, but if you were to read the same blog post in your book form, it just expands on it more so. So it's more of an in-depth thing. And it's not just learning, the 7 iron rules of Tomasi because they're pithy. It's the why is this 7th rule here? Here's some other things that connect to it. Oh, by the way, 2 chapters ago, the thing that I referenced here also applies here. It's like a big network of self-referential treatment. It's got a different level of analysis to it. It's just everything about it. Even just, I know I love Adobe Caslon for that. It's the kind of font you can pick on a book that you can read the whole thing and you don't get tired. Yeah. As opposed to people using like Times New Roman or Arial. And it's like a blog doesn't get to make those kind of choices.
No.
And you don't even notice them. You'll never notice any of these choices people make. You'll just notice that I really liked that book. That book was a very easy read, or that book was such a slog. It wasn't hard, but it was a slog. So they kind of know.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with him to more than he knows.
Yeah. I am in the process. Cappy, I'm still in the process of doing the cover of your next book. Thank you very much.
He should do his own covers. I like those ones where it's MS Paint drawings.
All it is black with like Arial brand was in white, the menu, right? Well done, bro.
Yeah. Spend a year on this book. I'm going to just phone in the fucking one thing that everybody sees on it first.
Like what you should really do is get me to do the layout of the interior of your book is what you ought to do. Because for most people like who are, and this is not to take anything away from Cappy because he writes great books. He's actually, Cappy is a real author. He's not a copywriter. He's not writing a product. He's writing a fucking book. And there's a big difference between that.
Oh yeah.
So like when I do my books, you have to remember that the interior, the exterior, everything I do is me. I don't hire anybody to do that. I do that myself because that's what I used to do. I was art director and graphic designer, and I studied photography and everything. And goddamn right, I'm going to go and do that stuff. So
it's a level of control that other people just don't get.
Yeah, and there is like I can tell the difference. Like I've got books in my bookcase right now from like people who I like, writers who I admire, who I think are great. But then I look at their books and I know what it was. They wrote it in like MS Word. It's 12-point Times New Roman. And there's no line breaks. It's like you see there's widows everywhere. That's driving me fucking insane. But like there's people don't even know what letting is or widows or the line break, a good line break, bad
kerning. Why you would want to use an M dash maybe instead of a hyphen.
Right. And those are things that people we just don't even take for granted. It's like if I go and I pull out 48 Laws of Power and I show you the typography and how the galleys of text flow and everything like that, I can appreciate that. And most people can too. They just don't like really
know how or why.
But when I see somebody who just throws a book out there and there's no formatting on the interior of the book, and it just looks like they just, hey, just flow the text in there. It doesn't matter as long as there's separations in the chapters, then that's all there has to be. And I'm like, that's not a writer. That's not an author. That's somebody who is just a writer who's putting out a product.
And the subtext about it too. Like if they're not willing to put in details, how do you not care about this part? If you're willing to not be concerned about the cover, that is your sales pitch, why everything inside the book is good. If you don't care about that, what else in there did you just half-ass or phone in? If you didn't even bother to lay it out properly or make it readable or legible, how am I supposed to believe that you're the expert of this field, right? But you couldn't even be bothered to like make this your life's work and actually put some effort into it?
Right.
It's a subtext thing. It's the same as pickup.
Yeah.
Girls, they see a guy. Remember that? They used to judge a guy by his shoes. Even if you're dressed like a bum, put on some nice shoes because they're like, all right, he's at least a detail man, which means he knows how to please me in bed.
Well, I would rather see somebody who I'm primarily an author. I have 5 books to my name, right? What are you at? 2, 3? You're at 3.
2, almost 3. I can finally say no homo at the end. I don't have to say that anymore.
Almost at 3. But like you do that because you're a writer, you're an author. Even before this, you're writing on blogs. You have your own Substack. You're on. You were writing on the Red Pill subreddit for.
Dude, even in the military, my job was military communications. I was writing it wasn't English, but it was writing.
Yeah. So there's a qualifiable difference between somebody who is an author and somebody who's like writing a book because it's a product that they're going to sell on Gumroad or whatever the fuck it is, right? And they just want to say, well, I'm a published author.
Yeah, I can tell.
Road, yeah, okay, yeah, you are. Technically, I don't take anything away from you. But if you're writing there's a difference between a product and like I used to hate this, man. When I was working in wine and spirits, whenever I put a lot of energy and creative effort into the bottles and the things that I used to produce for various import exports, and everybody knows where I work. But I hated it when they say, oh, we sold X amount of units or this product, or I was like, call it a product. Like that's a fucking bottle that I put like my fucking heart and soul into. Like, I'm the ideas guy. I'm the artist behind that. And so when people go, well, why you get so pissed off if Pearl rips you off or Kevin Samuels or this or that or what,
it's not that they rip you off. It's that they butcher it.
Isn't it you're putting this stuff out there anyways? Isn't that the whole point of it? I go, yeah, but they treat it like a fucking product.
Yeah. You never got mad at her for ripping off your stuff. You called her a hack.
Yeah.
She ripped it off badly.
Well, the problem I have with Pearl and the problem I have with I can't even just use her as she's the main example, obviously, but it's a fact that they'll throw out like Molotov cocktails so that it's convenient, easy content for someone like Matt Walsh or Candace Owens or whoever she works with on Daily Wire, so that they can go, oh, the red pill, there's this person I've never encountered her before, but this girl Pearl, and she says X, Y, and Z, and she's part of the red pill community, and so the red pill, she speaks for the red pill, and so blah 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 blah, right?
Yep.
I'm like every time she shits the bed, I'm the one who has to go clean it up, right? And I'm sick of fucking doing that. Especially when I go and I'll do a 2-hour video talking about here, Matt, here's why you're full of shit. Right? And it's just like, they don't care.
I know they watch that, by the way.
Content. That's all they don't. It's just a product for them. And then they're moving on to the next thing. What's he been talking about recently? Some shit like, oh, the putting your chair back, putting your seat back in the fucking air.
Oh, on the airline. Yeah.
Shit like that.
The comedian doing the airline food bit. He's there. He's out of ideas.
Right. Yeah. Completely out of ideas. So you're going to talk about this fight that ensued after some guy put his seat back and somebody kicked on the seat or something like that, forgive me what it was. And then he wants to equate that with psychopathy. You're a psychopath if you do this.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, dude. And I realized they watch all this stuff. I didn't click that Matt Walsh ad. It didn't even think about it until a year later. And I watched it. He goes, a YouTuber named Ryan Stone. I'm like, wait a minute. You just referenced a tweet. How do you know I'm a YouTuber?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't think about that. And I was watching it yesterday and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that means his people did their homework on you, right?
Yeah. But that's what I mean. I don't know who's watching you. I don't know who's watching me, but it's clearly more people than are letting on.
Right. Well, he did pull some clips from the Rule Zero show we did when we had
really
Andrew Wilson on, but it wasn't any of us. It was all him.
As long as we get there, whatever. He probably didn't even recognize me. Who's this other guy there? I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure, dude, trust me. They watch what we do. because they know that, and for no other reason than it's a product and that it's going to be it's future content for them. And that's why they love Pearl, because they know that she's going to go do some new freaking,
dance monkey dance.
Yeah, she's going to be playing guitar, sing some, cutesy little song about, the Australian painter, right?
That's so hot right now in Canada, by the way. We have a huge Muslim population that's just going hog right now.
Oh, they love that stuff. It's cheap, easy content, because they can't, you think about it, you have a show like Daily Wire, you've got accounts like Boring, you got Matt Walsh, you got Candace Owens, you got Shapiro, you got Andrew Klavan now wants to throw his hat in the ring.
Not entertaining, by the way.
Yeah, not very entertaining, whatever. They can't afford to wait for something to arrive or to arise to talk shit about, because they can't, it's inconsistent, right? So what do? They have to have easy foils like Pearl, who, by the way, I don't know if she's still part of her crew or whatever, but she was working with people. She admitted this on Adam Sosnick's show. I've used it on the video here. Her people were working with Candace Owens, or they were or are.
Her media manager.
Yes. So don't tell me she's not somebody who is actually creating easy content for them when it serves their purpose. It's a slow news week. Maybe we can get Pearl to throw out a firebomb, and then we can talk shit about that, and then it'll agitate the red pill guys, and then we'll have we'll have a product to put up, bring to market for the week.
I don't get why the audience doesn't hate them for it though. It's so overtly manipulative. Because I'm treating you like a dupe.
Yeah. Well, it's cheap. It's cheap content. It's easy to manufacture. It's bullshit, and they know she'll never be able to defend it, and neither does she care to defend it.
I mean the audience though. The audience are being flat out told, "Hey, we're making all this up. We're here to entertain you. I'm treating you like an idiot that you're going to buy into this stuff."
Mm-hmm.
It's like the NoFap guy sitting there preaching the NoFap thing. They know the only people that are buying that are stupid people.
Well, the only time she gets a spike in any kind of numbers is when Matt Walsh starts talking about her, or somebody from Daily Wire uses, because she's the whipping girl, boy, whatever. She's an easy foil, and that's what they want. They want her to do that.
I don't know how people do that marketing thing. I couldn't do that. I'd much rather be an ideas person. I get the slow burn. It's much harder to articulate how to do boundaries, or for you to describe hypergamy, but it's ultimately more fulfilling. And when somebody holds your feet to the fire saying, "Well, what about this crap you said?" You're never left holding your ankles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So many people right now, because they'll say stupid things because it markets well. And then somebody brings up the hypocrisy and they got to stand there like an idiot in front of a camera, and they always spurg out. You notice this?
Yeah. Well, so did you watch the first episode anyways of the Dr. Phil show that I did?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the kid Brian that was on there before I came on? By the way, and this is Pearl's done this. Everybody else has done this. Classic, right? Oh, we got this guy Brian, whatever. Ben. Sorry, it's Ben. It was
Ben Foth, I think.
Ben, something like that, right? I had no earthly idea who this kid was until 5 minutes before I went on that show.
Mm-hmm.
And I pat myself on the back. To my credit, I read him immediately, because the kid is definitely on the spectrum. I could tell just by the way he was talking, he was on the spectrum, probably had Asperger's syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
They wanted to use him they're doing pretty much the same thing that Daily Wire does with Pearl. This is the red pill. Isn't this cringeworthy? Isn't this ridiculous? Look at this poor retarded kid that's up here who wants to be like Andrew Tate, right? And they'll just deadpan it too. You got Dr. Phil there. Oh, tell us about why you think you're what men and women should be about, right? And, it's really, is that what you he's trying to take notes like he's a fucking psychologist and not a TV host, right? and so he's just basically doing this buildup, and what they're doing is they're pre-qualifying the red pill. So when Roll comes up there, now I have to defend the indefensible, right?
Yeah. Hey, tell us more about Andrew Tate and this ridiculous. I'm not supposed to say the other R word, so I'm getting ridiculous now. And the ridiculous kid.
Yeah, full on. It's what I call tilling the fields. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to fertilize and till the fields before you can get what you want out of the fields. So, well, that's why Ben was on there, was to make the red pill look cringeworthy, because they're going to talk about some serious shit with Andrew Tate, because they were using his jump cuts and everything else from his videos. Mm-hmm. They knew I was coming up there, and they knew that they wanted me basically as sort of like Andrew Tate's understudy, I was the proxy for the guy they couldn't get. Right.
Right.
So I went up there and I think I still did a pretty decent job, but that's the tactic that Daily Wire uses. And Pearl is the retarded Ben kid in this scenario.
Yep.
Okay. She's the one that's ridiculous and makes this look all cringeworthy, even though, and she doesn't care because it's all about content. It's all about
no attention's bad attention. She's all brand.
Product to her. No, yeah, exactly. No attention's bad attention. And she can't back up a goddamn thing. And they know that she can't. So when she goes on like H3 and starts talking about divorce and abortion, we should make voting for women illegal. That sounds pretty outrageous. When you ask her why, and she just collapses because she got no leg to stand on. Well, here's why. I heard some MGTOWs talking about it one time and it seemed like a good idea. That's
it markets well to that demographic.
How much thought she's given to the whole fucking thing, right? And so she can't actually defend a fucking point, but that was never the intent in the first. That wasn't the point in the first place. She knows she's not going to have to, and even if she collapses, that's still part of them mischaracterizing the red pill.
Well, in wrestling, they call that heel work.
Yeah,
she's Ric Flair, and this isn't new. Like they've done this before in the red pill. Robert Fisher, the guy who created the subreddit, they did the same. They turned him into a Ben Foth. All they did for their hit piece on it was never about the evil Trump. He ended up being like some kind of Republican something or other. I don't know your guys' position too well. But all they did was talked about his goofy synth music career that he was doing on Spotify because it was nerdy. And then they showed he was fat and didn't work out. Roosh, same thing. Remember that when they caught him at his parents' place in his pajamas? Oh, dude, that photo killed his career because he was sitting there at his parents' place in his pajamas. You know, the whole, his parents' basement with Cheeto dust and that. He literally gave them that thing. And then Roosh kind of died right at that moment. That was the last time you saw like a popular Roosh.
Yeah.
And that's literally what they have to do. It's just like, they don't want to fight ideas. They just want to make the guy look like an image or an archetype of something that you don't like. Or like you said, tilling the fields.
Cringe.
Now, all those pickup artists are just those guys in their parents' basements wearing pajamas all day.
Yeah.
All these red pill guys are evil Trumper Republicans. Now they're autistic kids who want to be Andrew Tate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, it's the same as the chicks you just described an hour ago. They're using shame because it works. You can't express sexuality. Well, how about just not express anything then? Because then we'll just make you out to be a villain.
Mm-hmm. Well, it took me a while. I mean, it took me a while, but like once I started to see the method to the madness and the patterns that are involved in this, is like they basically use Pearl as that Ben kid on Dr. Phil, right? And the thing is they just as on Dr. Phil, they didn't expect him to be able to defend his points. They didn't want him to. They wanted me to go up there and basically look just as cringeworthy because they want to put that association on me, and I wasn't having it. I talked him into I tabled him in the first 5 minutes of that fucking conversation. But but they were, that's the thing, is they were expecting some some idiot like Pearl to come up there and like not be able to say anything. Like, no, this is the source, bro.
Yeah.
Goddamn. I don't know if did you see the second one?
I did not see the second one.
The second one is where Superfluous came in, like the whole Superfluous thing.
Oh.
And it came out in May of this year.
Okay.
Now, I didn't even know until the week before, so I couldn't build it up or anything like that. One of their PR people hit me up and said, "Hey, it's coming out in like this week." I'm like, "Fuck!" And I think I was actually in Miami at the time when it came out. But it was the Superfluous one, and people really I started getting all this feedback. I thought it was going to be bad, but it wasn't. It was really, really good because people said I put Dr. Phil on the spot with the Superfluous thing, and he couldn't. He did kind of lose his shit a little bit, probably less so on the video than actually behind the scenes, which I still can't talk about until the show's off the air. Yeah. But the whole thing is just product. It's like they don't care about what they're talking about. They just care that it gets a rise and it gets views and it gets eyes on the screen.
It follows a format, all the works.
Right.
Mass produced. It's McDonald's.
Yeah. Yeah, more or less.
Which is kind of funny. That's very subversive of you. You coming in there having like a real conversation about real things and bringing up awesome points.
That's why they never want me on those shows. That's why Rogan. I don't get the call from Rogan. I'll never get the call from Tim Pool. Are you fucking kidding me? Like they had Tim Pool was on with Myron and Fresh, and like there's like, and thank you guys, thank you chat for doing this, because I know it was some of the guys in my chat went on there and said, "Hey Tim, when are you gonna have Rollo Tomasi on your show?" Like they were really like hitting him up for that, and And Myron's like, hey, yeah, man, it would be a great day if me and Rolo could go on the show and we could talk about this stuff like that. I'm like, and he, here's Tim Pool's like, yeah, sure, we'd love to have you on. No, not November. But yeah, and I know it'll never happen. I know it's just blowing sunshine up my ass. But and the reason for that is because for the same reason why I was very lucky to get on Dr. Phil in the first place, because I'll go in there and I'll table them in the first 5 minutes of the show. Right?
Yeah. Well, that was your Kathy Newman moment, sort of.
Yeah, more or less.
They weren't expecting it. You kind of exceeded expectations, and not in a good way.
Well, and remember what we said about Twitter being like carnival barkers. It's all about entertainment. It's all every account is a parody account right now. They don't want to have a real conversation. They just want content. They just want product.
Yep.
They don't care that you're an author. They don't like you, for instance, this YouTuber, Ryan Stone. But you're quoting my tweet.
Yeah.
How do you know this?
How do you know this?
They know exactly. They know this shit. They know who I am. They know my name is.
I wonder if I fully pivot and just start talking Matt Walsh points, could I get a job on the Daily Wire and just prodigal son that shit?
But you have to move to Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, that might be all right. I've heard good things about Nashville.
Well, there's a lot. Hey, I mean, apparently a lot of Canadians love it. I mean, just look at this. I mean,
look at our real estate market. Yes, we could just buy houses outright down there.
I'm waiting for this reality TV show that's kind of like the Osbournes, but it's going to be the Petersons.
Oh my God, there's no way they don't do that.
Yeah, right? I mean, that'd be
Jordan's the secondary character and his daughter's the main character, and
Tammy.
Oh my God. I feel so bad. I get it. I get why he's checked out. They ruined him. They put him on. They almost killed Peterson, all of his fans. So now he's like, you know what? I'm taking my 8 million. I'm going to rant about the liberals. I'm out. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I'm surprised you haven't done it yet. I expected a lot more cashing out from you.
No, I don't know how to cash out.
You do some theatrics and some kayfabe. I get that. I'm like, dude, if anybody's earned it, it's you. If anybody has earned it, it's you.
I don't know what I would do. I don't know how I would cash out, quite honestly.
I don't know, run a pawn shop for TV.
I'm not that devious. I remember talking to MLD for John Modern Life Dating, saying, man, you are so under monetized. I'm like, well, just tell me how I should be monetized, man. I don't have the bullshit gene well enough. I don't have the.
I think it's just because he just tries anything and everything. Dick pills, fine. Tomorrow, what's this time? Now it's selling elephants.
Oh man, here's a great analogy for that. And I know we're not supposed to use analogy, but for instance, I could probably go root through my email right now, and I could probably come up with 6 or 8 different offers I have had for paid content. Hey, can you put 30-second plug for our Mary Kay Cosmetics? We love your stuff and watch it every day. No, you don't. Or lightning speed VPN or whatever else. And I have and every week I'm just leaving money on the table. I just say, no, sorry, it's not on brand, not on brand, not on brand, not on brand, not on brand. The only thing that's on brand for me, and I had to hunt it down myself, was Devil Mountain Coffee. That's it. And I get free coffee from that. That's all I get. But I could very easily go and just whore this channel out for God knows what, and I'm not going to do it because it's just not on brand.
It's a reputation thing. Right now, when you say something, there's a certain amount of credibility coming because you've never betrayed that credibility before. Mm-hmm. If you decide to go grift, and then it is basically gone, and you're riding strictly on name recognition, there's no going back from that.
Right. Well, I mean, and then for instance, for Access Vegas, now that it's monetized and now it's becoming more, I mean, it's been out for a year. We're actually one of the top, podcasts in Las Vegas right now. People want to come and advertise anything. TRT, I bet your cosmetic surgeon. I'm like, where are you guys now? I'll do anything you want on Access Vegas. I just can't do it on this show.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to know. And no, we're not shitting on MLB. I still love MLB like a brother.
Yeah, just endure, guys.
Nice, man. It's you can't I say that in love. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I just I don't have that gene. That's all I'm trying to say. It's I don't have the.
Well, so what did you say? The marketing guy, the idea guy, and the money guy, right?
Exactly. Have we talked about that before?
We've talked about that many times.
Yeah, but I don't know if we ever did it on.
I remember all of our conversations. I'm one of the few people that actually pays attention when we're talking.
Well, I mean, this is straight out of Steve Jobs' playbook, but it's pretty much true. I learned this in working in wine and spirits is like there's the idea guy, which I account myself and you as well, ideas guys. We produce. We actually come up with some pretty decent fucking products and some decent, I don't even call it products, decent ideas, projects, whatever. We're the creatives in all of this, right? Then there's the people who are the salespeople. And if they stick to sales and they're very talented at it and they keep going at it, they're awesome. And then there's the guy who's the investor, right? The guy who bankrolls the whole project, right?
Make it move fast.
Exactly. Like I see myself as an ideas guy. I see Miguel Munoz as like sort of like the guy who's like the investor guy. And then there's other guys who want to sell, right? Maybe the guy's an MOA or something like that. That's makes for a pretty potent combination, right? You have if you look at any really super successful business, that's how they're run. Ideas guys, sales guys, and the money guy. The problems start when the sales guy thinks he's the ideas guy. Problems start when there's an expectation that the ideas guy needs to be a really good salesman. Or he needs to like cater his ideas so that the salesman can do a better job at being a salesman, right?
Yeah.
So when they start crossing over and people start pretending to be something that they play a role that they're not, or God forbid, try to be all three at the same time, that's when things go to hell.
Well, and I get why too, because there's not a lot of ideas guys out there. Yeah. Even now, like in our niche, how many people are actually out there doing things? Not many. So, and there's tons of marketing guys. So you run out of ideas very quickly. Rich showed me this. I was talking to him about affiliate marketing with my newsletter back in the day. And I'm like, dude, I'm having trouble finding enough people to affiliate. Like there's just not enough people with products and ideas. He goes, just do your own thing. Affiliate your own stuff. And that's when I'm like, oh yeah. And that's when I stopped. I'm like, yeah, the book. That's my own affiliate product now. So I can see a marketing guy. He's desperate to sell, but there's nothing out there to sell. So he's like, well, I'll just come up with my own ideas. It can't be that hard.
Right. I need a widget.
Yeah, I need a widget.
I'll sell the fuck out of it. Yeah.
I find it much easier to be an ideas guy and then like dip your foot into the marketing guy. Well, it's not hard. Put on a backwards baseball cap, some of those Bret Hart shades, and yell at women wearing a pink Hawaiian shirt. It's easy.
Yeah. I know you got a heart out in another 20 minutes here, so I want to move into boundaries because I think you can hit like B on the there you go, marker created at 210. Did you know you could do that?
I did not. Where is this option?
All you got to do is hit the B key, and it will put a marker in your stream, so you can come back to it. So you go, we're going to shift topics, right? I hit B, and then that's where you go. Or if something significant happens in the stream, you hit B, and then it'll put it automatically.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, just for setting timings on this thing, it's always a pain in the ass. I have to use Notepad with like typing in the time.
Right, and don't forget, you can also now, courtesy of Chrome, you can actually do shit like this.
That's like that the Jackson 5 music video. What the heck was it? Blame it on the boogie or whatever.
Oh, I really love that. God.
I guess to lead it off, an easy way to do it. Boundaries is at its core. You can no longer tell people what to do. You can only pull your affection, your attention, or your commitment. And those tools only have any teeth if you have sexual market value. And that's essentially boundaries. Everything else is an implementation of that very core principle.
Yeah. Well, I've written several essays about boundaries. I think one of them is in my second book.
I hope so.
And I know it's an important concept. I probably will end up putting it in the Book of Maxims as well. Now, I am of the opinion that boundaries need to be experienced rather than talked about. And the reason why I talk about boundaries in like a zero tolerance like environment is because, and especially today, I just had this conversation, by the way, with I think it was Jack Napier in one of our private chats,
right?
And then I created a thread about this. So if you're looking for the thread, it's on Twitter. I think this is going to be the topic of my next Substack, by the way.
I think we're gonna have like a subtle disagreement on this one too, which is gonna be fun.
We might. I'm kind of zero tolerance right now, and I'll tell you why. Because
you can afford to be.
Well, I can, yeah, but I also okay, so here's my basic core concept is this. I'm a very patient guy. Right? I'm very patient. I will, and you've told me this before.
I've called you Job many times.
Rolo, you're very red pill when it comes to to women, but you're not very red pill when it comes to guys, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what is the fool me once, your fault, fool me twice, my fault. Yeah, I am guilty of that all the time. And I'm a very patient guy. I don't lose my cool very often. I don't throw things. I don't punch through I very rarely punch my fist through the wall or some shit like that. Right.
I've only ever seen one red button, and I'm not going to mention it, but I already know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but even that, like, you know me well enough to know what that is. Like most people, right? But so, for instance, I understand that I'm actually a very patient guy. So when somebody pushes me past that point of like patience, and I lose my shit, that's when I'm like, okay, I expect people to know that I'm appreciate the fact that I'm a very patient person, and you're the fucking son of a bitch who just pushed me past that, right?
Right.
And so now you're gonna get it with both barrels, right? And yes, you are correct. Private jet. But the fact is that I have boundaries, right? But I expect other people to know what they are already.
Right.
But if you're going to work with me, and this could be a work situation, it could be a relationship, it could be like interpersonal relationships, it could be business relationships, it could be your family, it could be like with your girlfriend, your wife, whatever. Or if you're with this new girl, we always the easy one. I hate this because it's so stupidly simplistic. But like when a girl says, "Hey, I'm going to go and do a girls' night out at Vegas or something like that," I say, "Oh, girls' weekend out. Are you okay with that?" And then my example is this, and what you should say is, "Yes, absolutely. I'm fine with that."
I believe it was "have fun" was specifically what you said.
Have fun. I'll be here. See you later. Bye. And then as soon as she's gone, you take all her shit, you put it out on the sidewalk, and you change the locks.
Yeah, demote her to plate.
Yes.
See, I agree with you with that. There's a lot of boundaries that are kind of like don't cheat on me kind of stuff, right? I do find, though, a lot of guys, especially when they get more valuable, they start to get more specific boundaries. And so I kind of have a more use your head. Is this the kind of boundary that somebody should intuit or maybe communicate it first?
Right. Well,
but I mean, at the same time, it's one of those, I think we're basically saying the same thing.
Well, okay, so there's a difference between, like, because you cross a boundary and you want some, like, for me anyways, my expectation is that people, if you like me that much, if you want to work with me, if you want to be my, you want to be intimate with me in some way, and I think guys should adopt this as well. Like if you're with a woman and she
makes the effort, in other words,
she crosses a boundary, it's your fault. It's the guy's fault, because unless you express that, or unless you're sticking with a woman who doesn't have the insight or doesn't have the desire to know you so well that she already knows what your boundaries are. Right?
Yeah,
it's not mind reading. People want to cast it in the so, well, you got to communicate your boundaries, blah blah blah. Just the very fact that you had to communicate your boundaries says she doesn't have the interest enough to know what those fucking boundaries are.
Yeah, see, I think people are stupid, though. I think a lot of people are stupid and they can't get outside their own head, and sometimes you need to splash that cold water in their face. I think that's what the disagreement is I fundamentally have a much more negative view of humanity than you.
So here's the thing is, what is the punishment for that? What are the consequences for crossing that boundary? That's where the difference is.
Affection, attention, commitment. That's all you can pull.
Okay, so that's exactly. So to what degree? You go, okay, you cross the boundary, fuck off and die. That's one boundary. Another one is, okay, you cross the boundary, I'm not going to do business with you for a while, or I'm just going to like wait until you wait until you come to the conclusions of what.
No more handshake deals, or
wait until you have the insight to say, oh, I fuck something up, right? I would much rather work with somebody or be in a relationship like with a woman who has the insight to know, like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't do this. Like I usually cast it in this, more recently, I cast it in this example is, I don't think the question ought to be, ladies, if you were in a relationship with a guy and he asked you to delete your Instagram or delete your OnlyFans, would you do it? And of course, the instant reply is
no, fuck that guy.
No, fuck that guy. He's not the right guy if he's asking me to do that. Right. Well, but you know what? They're 100% right when they say that. Because the guy who would ask that is not the guy that she would do it for voluntarily.
Okay, you're right there. I have seen this. A lot of my friends during my hoeing days, as soon as they started to settle down and get married, all of a sudden they sanitized their Facebook. So I get that. And I guess that's early stuff. I'm thinking more in the future, because I always treat everything you do as if it has value. That includes if you want to be vulnerable in front of somebody, if you want to be honest with them. I think everything you should be treated with value. In this case, the boundary one, I kind of treat that later. The point where you even want to articulate what your boundaries are, something that may be specific and not intuitively known, I think somebody has to earn that from you. So yeah, absolutely. For somebody who they don't know you well enough yet, I would absolutely take the approach you do of like, you should have known. And if you didn't know, why did you not even bother to try to learn?
Right. Well, I mean, I get into situations like where I've got like, I'm not. I hate to bring it. I'm just going to use valuetainment as an easy example here. Okay,
All
so I went to a lot of trouble to help, like, say, Adam Sosnick and Jedediah Bila develop their shows. Adam Sosnick's show would not be what you wouldn't even know his name had I not invested 7 months into helping him in 2022 build that out. And also the same thing with Jedediah Bila. And they will, as of December of 2022, they both said the same thing. Like, if it wasn't for Rollo with this, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be what we're at, right? So you would think that when I'm trying to, like, actually help them, like, even grow more than that and help them out, like, it would be common courtesy to say, hey, well, we'll pay for a flight to have you come out. We'll have we'll have a place for you, blah, 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 just because we're going to make more money off of you than it will cost us to spend to have you come out, right?
Yeah.
And I shouldn't have to. I feel like the reason why I had that blow up with Adam, and by the way, we're cool now. I don't have a problem with Adam anymore. But the because I know where they're at right now. I know that's never going to be forthcoming. So if I choose to do something with Adam, which I will be doing on Thursday, I'm doing it because of me, because I'm saying this is worthwhile to me to do, because I know how they operate now. So if I have a problem with the fact that they won't fly me out, or they won't, like, put me up at a hotel or something, that's now on me. Not necessarily on them,
because you know what to expect.
I know what to expect, right? But when all that shit was going down, I'm like, I shouldn't have to be the one to bring this up in the first place. I shouldn't have to be the one saying, hey, it should be a given. Their people should call me up and say, okay, would you like an aisle seat or a window seat? Here's a great place. Here's where you're going to stay. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have the car for you at this. Like, the logistics should be a no-brainer. I shouldn't have to do the legwork and the logistic work to help you make a shit ton of money off of me being on your show, right? Yeah. So, and then, again, I'm not. And for me to even bring this up, it sounds like I'm an egoist, and oh my god, he's too big for his britches, and fuck him, right?
Dude, this so reminds me of the pickup stuff.
I shouldn't have to say that in the first place, because, like, when I worked with, like, say, George Gammon, that's exactly what happens. Hey, we want you to Texas, and we're going to have you talk. You're going to talk for 90 minutes. It's going to be here. We're going to put you up at this hotel. You're flying first class. Do you want an aisle seat or a window seat? That's pretty much how it works. And I don't even have to lift a finger, because because they recognize my value, because they wouldn't be asking me otherwise. Right.
And I hate to give credit here, but Mr. Johnson, at the very least, I do recall that my hotel was set up, my flight was set up. All I had to do was show up. Hell, and I hate to give this guy a compliment. You know it's good if I hate it.
Now, even Kevin Sabo and the Sabo brothers, they flew me out. And they put me up when when they we were just taking a chance on going out there. They did more for me than Valuetainment has ever done for me. And again, this isn't a complaint. This is an external validation. This is another shit. It's just me, like, understanding, okay, if I'm going to do this is what I'm going to do, right? I think the same thing, or the same understanding and application should apply to boundaries with women and boundaries with people, with your friends as well, too. I'm not just picking on women and that.
It's with anybody and everybody.
Yeah. So you should know me and appreciate my value enough to already know that I'm not cool with that. That's probably, would this be one of Rollo's boundaries? The very fact that you have the insight to say, and question yourself for doing that. That's what I'm talking about. That's genuine desire. And it doesn't have to be with a chick. It can be with somebody who's a business associate.
People used to learn this stuff really early, too. Do you remember? I don't know if you did this during your bar days, but do you ever who's got friends with the bartenders, like the ladies there, and they'd comp you free drinks? And you always, like, good tipping. Tip a $5. If it's a $5 drink, you tip $5 if they comp you one.
Right.
And it was the whole point of that was just reputation management. Every time you go to the bar now, they let you into the front of the line. The bouncers, hey, it's good to see you back. This was like fundamental skills you had to learn when you were learning to wing for guys or play on the town. I don't know. Do people just not have it anymore? Do you not do this in the States now that bottle service is here? Everything is kind of transactional.
So I can put this in. I'm going to put this in gendered terms. Okay. So one of the reasons why I think women don't do those things, or they cross boundaries without ever realizing it, and this is why I think it needs to be a demonstrate, do not explicate. You don't explain boundaries. When a woman crosses the boundary, that's it. She has to learn that on their own, because the more, like, it's 48 laws of power, right? Always say less than necessary. And the more you talk, the more common you appear. Okay. The more you have to explain something, all that does is exacerbate a problem that's already there. She doesn't have the desire or the insight to ever want to get to know you that deeply to go, I wonder if going on to Vegas with the girls would be crossing a boundary. Yes, is fucking crossing a boundary. The very fact that you want to do that is the problem, not the actual act of going out on girls' night out. Right? Your desire to do that and like, oh, I'm going to see if it's okay. The very fact that she's going to see if it's okay, she should already fucking know that it's not okay.
Yeah.
You know? And so
makes sense.
But and so it comes down to like genuine desire. Do you actually have enough interest in me to know what I like, what I don't like, what I'm about, how patient I am, what my real value is, you know, how busy I'm going to be, and how can you be a net benefit to that? That's the problem when it comes with men and women and it comes to boundaries. Is women don't care what your boundaries are. And even if you just explain them to her, like you say, okay, here's my, like how many times, like I from the chat, right? How often have you ever heard a woman ask you, so what are your boundaries? That doesn't happen. It usually happens in the moment. Like, oh, I'm going to do this. I wonder if that's a boundary.
That's such what do you bring to the table vibes.
I so fucking hate that because like the first thing anybody came back with that was like, well, what do you expect women to be a mind reader? Yeah, I kind of do actually, because women expect men to be mind readers already, but it's not even about mind reading. It's about the very fact that you should be interested enough in that guy to already know what his boundaries are. Mm-hmm. So instead of like, oh, I would never delete my OnlyFans or my Instagram if he asked, it should be, would you do this because you see him as such a high value guy without being asked?
Yeah.
If his boundaries might be get off OnlyFans and get off Instagram,
why take the chance? I get it.
Self-initiate that yourself because you value him you appreciate his value so much, and you have the insight to know that, and you understand what he's about, that you'll do it on your own without being asked. That's the question that needs to be asked on like Fresh and Fit or Access Vegas or wherever else, right? It's about it's about that is what the difference between genuine desire and obligated compliance is.
Yeah.
So if you're obligated to like pull your OnlyFans off, then yeah, women are going to chomp at the bit.
Well, what's your bait on that? Just obligated or resentful compliance or something was the only thing you get from negotiated desire. Yeah, obligated compliance.
Obligated compliance, right? So she'll do it. You know, I guess I have to. You know.
Oh yeah, no resentment will ever come of this. It'll never manifest in other unhealthy ways.
I don't want that. I don't want a woman to feel obligated to suck my dick. I don't want a woman to feel obligated to do anything for her. I want her to want to do those things.
It does feel good, doesn't it?
Because she understands my inherent value, right? And it's not, that's the difference. It's really hard because people want to put it in binary terms because they just can't wrap their heads around it and they want to feel good about it, right? Well, open communication solves everything. Well, there's lots of ways to communicate shit. And one of those is punishment after you cross a fucking boundary.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, does that mean you completely shit can the whole relationship as a consequence? It doesn't have to.
No, it's like a continuum of force. It's on par with the digression. Yeah. If your girl annoys you one day, then yeah, this afternoon I'm going fishing. Mm-hmm. If she cheats on you, it may be like, well, I'm going fishing forever. Goodbye.
Yeah. I'm gonna live in a truck down by the river.
Yep. So, I mean, that's another thing too. Like, how big a deal is it for you? I think a lot of guys have to ask a lot of self questions on this. How important is this boundary? Am I willing to nuke my family over it? In some cases, maybe it is worth divorcing your wife and possibly losing the kids over. If it's not that much, then you shouldn't be mouthing off about that boundary because you don't believe in enforcing it that well.
Or you never will. Or she knows you never will. That's why I always say like, ultimatums are the ultimate expression of powerlessness, right?
Yeah. And girls, they will call bluffs. They are bred for it. Absolutely will call every man's bluff. I don't know if it's experience or I don't know if it's part of what David Buss calls the commitment skepticism bias, but yeah, girls will call your bluff until they know it's not a bluff.
And the more the more they know that you are locked in, the more it sounds like bullshit, the more it's meaningless, right?
Yeah. So what are you going to do? Nuke your family, Matt Walsh? Please.
What are you really going to do? You know, tough guy. Yeah.
And part of it is, and Reagan used to do this with the communists. I remember this when he was negotiating. He made himself look like a deranged lunatic with his finger on the button, on the nuclear button, so that Russia had to believe that he wasn't bluffing. Mm-hmm. It's kind of as a guy what you have to do. You have to treat your woman like a communist.
Yeah, or like I try like a communist. Right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's again, when I talk about like demonstrate boundaries, don't explicate boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be like an automatic response. It can't be just like, if you keep doing this, I'm gonna do X, right?
Or else
to
the moon, Alice.
Now, what will happen is people go, well, yeah, if you do that often enough, then yeah, you're a paper tiger, right? You don't have any teeth to it. Well, I'll tell you this: the very first time you do that, you're a paper tiger.
Yep.
Because especially if you've been together like for 3 or 5 or 10 years or something like that, and she knows you're full of shit, and she knows you're just like, because what happens is you're in a worse position at that point because you're pandering and you're pouting like, oh, I'm gonna take my ball and go home, and she knows damn well you're not gonna do jack shit about it. So it's like all this boundary stuff is absolutely meaningless unless you're willing to go and actually, pull, have some consequences to it. There has to be teeth to to boundaries, and
has to be teeth, and she has to be worried about losing you. Otherwise, it's ineffective.
Man, it's like, okay, maybe you should just give her a warning or whatever. Okay, well, you can do that, but the very fact that you would need to do a warning in the first place means that she's not interested, her interest level is low, her desire level is low to even have the insight to actually think that maybe I crossed a boundary.
Isn't that crazy how guys, like, their boundary is being crossed and they still feel the need to defend the girl who's crossing it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what about just a warning shot? It's like, wait, why are you on her side on this? Isn't she specifically not on your side on this?
Well, and then even then, like I said, the consequences don't have to be the nuclear option.
No,
there has to be consequences. There has to be something that you like. I hate to go, Rollo Tomasi behaviorist, but there has to be. What is it? Punishment for undesired behavior, right?
Yeah.
There has to, you're modeling behavior. It's operant conditioning is essentially what it comes down to.
Well, that's what is sociability, if not that. Us being social, sending off positive or negative reinforcement signals for people doing things. Even a dad just saying, furrowing his eyebrow when his daughter misbehaves. Sometimes that's all it takes.
Well, sometimes,
but that's humanity. That's what social signals are.
Sometimes you have to be a hard ass because you care.
Yeah.
You have to kick people in the ass because you care. Sometimes shit has to hurt.
Yeah.
Right? You have to here's the thing is if you enforce consequences for crossing a boundary, like I said, it doesn't mean it has to be the nuclear option, but there has to be some teeth to it. There has to be okay, I fucked up, because that's the only, what do they always say? Like children, I'm comparing children here, but children don't listen to what you say. They watch what you do.
Yeah.
And so when it's better to learn a lesson by touching the hot stove than actually saying that's a hot stove and it could really hurt you. Right. What's going to keep you from actually touching those things? Oh, some guy. Thanks, man. Much appreciated. Boundaries only work if you demonstrate them from day one and you never capitulate.
Well, not only, because a lot of what I'm doing in Dread is about that. What happens if you're a guy who's had squishy boundaries in your life? You have to build them. And there is no time limit on it. There's no statute of limitations. If you decide day 566 you want to have a boundary, that's fine. And that's kind of one of those edge cases where I say maybe expressing it is a good idea because it's never been a boundary before and you've decided today it is. Of course, it will be called out as a bluff right away. And so it's going to get harder before it gets easier to enforce your boundaries. But yeah, largely that's what guys are doing as part of their unplugging, especially while married.
That's actually my ulterior motive was actually so I could get you to talk about your book.
Yes.
On this. But I just last point here is there's a certain guy that we know. I'm not going to name his name in our collective, let's just say, who was explaining something how a woman had crossed the line with him. And that he's ghosting her. He's just he's saying, I'm done. I'm out. Eject next. Soft next, maybe. He'd probably end up.
Probably soft next.
It's probably a soft next, right?
Yeah.
And I was explaining to our good friend Jack Napier, whose name I will drop, that there has to be a consequence to those actions. And I said, look, he could simply say, hey, you crossed a boundary and here's how it is, right? He could do that. But the lesson that she's learning right now by wondering what's going on, it's forcing her to insight. So anything he could say is never going to be as effective as what she's imagining right now, because insight in women is exceptionally rare. For a woman to go, you know what? I was pretty fucked up. I think I owe him an apology. That's one of the reasons why I love my wife so much, because she's the kind of person who and I don't even know this, right? We'll be talking about something and I don't even think it's a fight. I don't even think it's any kind of a heated conversation or anything like that, but we'll be talking about something. And then I've been maybe half a day later, she'll come back and go, I'm sorry about that. I was kind of wrong-headed about just to take it upon herself to have the insight to go, you know what? Maybe I should apologize for that. even for shit that I don't necessarily need an apology for, right?
Dude, same, yeah.
She has the insight to do that. It led, like when we're on like Access Vegas or Fresh and Fit or something like that, they'll say, "What do you bring to the table besides your pussy in your mouth, right, and your ass, right? What do you bring to the table besides your sexuality?" I'm an entrepreneur. I run my own nail business or some gourmet, muffin company or some shit like that. There's something that's like they just throw out some bullshit. And you know what? So when people ask me, well, what should they say? Insight. That's the number one thing I think is the most value added thing a woman can bring to a relationship, is actually having that insight and that interest and that genuine desire for that.
Oh, but that won't fit on a bumper sticker.
No. Oh, no. You know why? Because it's capitulation. It sounds like submission is what it sounds. It sounds like deference is what it is. And it doesn't have to be. It just has to be interest enough to want to, like, what do we say? Like, when a woman is really interested in you, she like starts rooting for the fucking Raiders.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or she's listening to Swedish death metal. You know,
It's also like, yeah, it's the same behavior you'll see in borderline personality disorder, just dialed back to a reasonable human level. That's the female condition. That's how people get together. Yeah. It's called mirroring.
And then just to make sure that I get this out here, is the reason why I'm sort of a zero tolerance about this is not because I want to be some tyrant, or because I want to be some slave master. I don't. I want you to genuinely want to be interested in me and want to either have sex with me or not cross boundaries with me, bring insight to the relationship, bring value to the relationship because you want to, not because I'm like, okay, bitch, here's how it is, right? Yeah. I'm not looking for a slave. I'm not trying to say, well, you need to crush your poor little delicate girly spirit.
No, you're getting the girl to hold your drink while you do your set.
Goddamn right. Fuck yeah. Thank you for that. You are absolutely right about
There's that throwback to something from a while back, huh?
Say my name, bitch. Anyways.
How funny. It all comes back to like good old fashioned mystery compliance tests.
Yeah, comply or goodbye. Right. And again, it's not punishment. It's just I'm not going to waste your time and you're not going to waste my time. It's just pragmatism. It's not like I'm trying to be a dick and get, oh, fine, I'm going to get her. That's not what it's about. Yeah. I don't want to waste my time with a woman who doesn't have 100% interest in me. And what was it? I think it was Gene Simmons from Kiss who used to say, he was like, I don't want to have sex with a chick who's drunk. I don't want her to have to be drunk to fuck me. I want her to be 100% sober and in the moment because she's that into me, right? I don't want her drugged up. I don't want her drunk. I don't want anything, because that says I want to actually experience you without having, without being fucked up all the time.
Fair.
Right? Yeah. Anyways, okay. Tell me about dread. How does this dovetail into dread?
It's all dovetails into dread. It's honestly the whole book, the back Praxeology Volume 1 frame. It was supposed to be a book on dread, but the problem is it's such an expansive topic that I had to break it into two. And even now, this one's kind of big. The core question it answers is for a guy who's in a relationship and he's not happy. He's sexually deprived. He's being taken for granted. What do you do? And you will see nothing mainstream about this. Everybody will just tell you, oh, just leave the bitch. Abandon your family and leave her. Oh, that's great. Or just put up with it and, go back to the Bible. There's no actual practical one. And here's the beauty of it, is that it's not even me. There's thousands of guys who have asked that very same question. They're sitting on the toilet after the 500th rejection saying, like, why won't my wife fuck me? And then they came to this place. And then they started seeing guys' field reports talking about it. Everything. There's a couple large concepts like the scoreboard. The idea is when a guy is going through this process, you're going to have certain social dynamics in place. The first one is the girl is just throwing points up on the board and you can't beat her anywhere. That's the first part. And that's when you have to get yourself out of your wife's frame. And of course, you have to explain what frame is. Mm-hmm. Then the second part of the scoreboard is you're starting to learn how to put your own points on the board. So you're starting to match your score. You're starting to do better. And that's great. And that's how you get to that second spot. That's where a lot of this fuck that bitch, I do what I want part comes from. And then the third part, you have to realize, like, this isn't my arch nemesis. This is just, this is just my girl and she's valuable and I've decided to keep her or not. And you throw the scoreboard away. You stop keeping score. But you kind of have to go through that process. And some people start in the middle. Some people start at the end. But you'll eventually all get to the same place. You also understand, after seeing about a couple thousand guys doing this, that there's really only 3 dysfunctional types of relationships. There's either we always use the captain first officer model, which I know you have issues with. It's either the drunken captain that ceded his responsibility and his wife begrudgingly takes it up. Then there's the neurotic captain and his constantly complaining passenger, guys who are walking on eggshells, afraid of their wife's emotions, trying to save her. The third type is the captain and her husband. These are the types of women that they didn't want a strong, independent man. They've had some issues in the past, and they want a floor mat, somebody they can walk over. Kind of like that savvy chick's husband that we interviewed a couple years back. But here's the and then some guys they used to be the Chad. They picked up all the women back in the day, and then they decided to pick one and settle down. And they do the Madonna whore thing, and they think, well, I can't treat this one like those other girls. And then the part that made him attractive initially is gone now. There's the other guys that, I worked hard, I have a good job, and they spent their entire life working to finally win that woman who's at the end of the epiphany phase. And then she has her kid, and now she has her post-nut clarity. She doesn't love him anymore. So it turns out both of those guys end up in the same space, which is good and bad. It's bad in that it sucks, but it's good in that every guy is in the same position, which means every guy can use similar things to get out. And so you take all these concepts, you kind of put them together, you add to that the idea and concept of frame, and then, how do you deal with cheating? And there's so much to it. Like, there's a blue-pilled and a red-pilled way to cheat. Why would you want to cheat? I actually don't talk about it much because I'm like, if I have to explain it, then you're not ready yet. So I mostly just refer to it on more abstract levels. And then at the end of it, like, what are you expecting to get out of this? You're being taken for granted in a sexless marriage. Well, there's actually only 5 outcomes out of it. And each guy is going to have his own set of challenges and his own set of successes and his benefits and his pros and his cons. And I kind of lay them all out. And I put a lot of case studies in there too. So you can see it literally tells you from start to finish, how do you start from being a guy who has to jerk off in his bathroom because his wife won't fuck him, to the point that you have to decide, am I going to plate my ex-wife so I have better opportunity to see my kids? Or am I just going to keep her and then cheat on the sly and keep things going? Like, but it's great. So 3 parts of the scoreboard, 3 types of dysfunctional marriages, 2 types of men that end up in these situations, and 5 specific outcomes. And you take that entire web and you put it together, and that's Dread. Now, unfortunately, it's not a list. It's not a 10-step process to win your wife's heart. But if you're able to navigate that and use your noggin, it's actually fairly effective. It's got a ton of success behind it. It just may not be the success that you started at, but it'll be the success when you finish. And it's a labor of love, Rollo. It is. This is my magnum opus. I swear to God, if Nick can finish the editing.
I was going to say, so when I've written about Dread in like 2 of my books right now.
Yeah.
Maybe not, they're not dedicated to Dread, but like I've got soft Dread, like, which is a passive Dread. And then there's the active form of Dread, which is more like Ultimatums.
Which is both being referenced in there too. Yeah.
Yeah. I've always said that the third party kind of passive Dread is always more effective than like beating them over the head with Dread. Like, hey, bitch, if you don't shape up, I'm going to go and fuck your best friend. Right.
It also answers that question am I the problem or is she the problem? And the only way to know that is to make sure you're not the problem. And that's why passive Dread is also effective. It makes sure you're not just putting all your problems on your wife and expecting her to step up.
Right. Thank you, Kate, for that. Good Dread game. Well, okay, so I think one of the problems I think I'm glad you're using the word Dread, the term Dread, because
I even go in why I specifically keep the word Dread.
I know people always ask me about that. Why do you use the term Dread? It's so harsh. It's so like, but nothing else like gets the point across, right?
Yeah, because you'll rubberneck it if we make it sound misogynistic.
Well, I used to call, I still do in some ways, still call it competition anxiety, which is really what it comes down to. But it's the dread, it's the fear of loss, right? And I'm going to also point out, like, when I was talking about like having the insight to know that you've crossed a boundary, that is the rudiment of that comes from a sense of dread. Now, that dread can be because you gave her an ultimatum, or it can be from, like, say, her girlfriend saying, man, bro, it looks pretty good, man. If things ain't working out with you and him, I'm going to fuck him. Like, if they have that, like,
and the latter is sustainable where the former is not.
Exactly. And so, and you have to look for those instances. So, like, one of the things that Royce used to say about dread was, lean into it. Most guys will trust, say, no, baby, I would never fucking cheat on you. Like, it's so, like, they're at the
dude, there's a whole chapter just on that part. You have no idea how deep that rabbit hole goes. Where guys literally think, well, I'm gonna start rewarding her because she's acting better because of dread. And then what they do is they act in their previously unattractive ways, and they walk it back. And then they're like, now not only does she not lose her attraction, but now the trust of you doing it a second time is harder. So you get in these weird feedback cycles. You see guys do that. Yeah. And it's absolutely what you're describing.
They diffuse the potential for that woman seeing or being reminded of his inherent value. That's why.
Yep.
So if Royce put it this way, like if you're like at a bar or a restaurant or something, and the waitress or the bartender or whatever is flirting with you, don't dissuade that. Flirt back. Not don't go and do it. You're like active dread would be you going to the bar and then flirting with the waitress, like initiating it, right?
Yeah, hitting on the waitress at Applebee's, display of lower value.
Exactly.
Later, waitress at Applebee's hitting on you, display of higher value.
Way better, because that's the difference between passive third party dread versus first party dread, which is you're initiating it because you're going to teach this bitch a lesson. Or it's the waitress is hot and she's flirting with you kind of, and then you go and you lean into it, right? And unapologetically lean into it, and then I can't believe it, she was flirting with you. Like, hey baby,
I'm not sticking a dick into her, relax.
I'm with you, don't worry, but like I can't help it, I'm just fucking naturally not charming, like that kind of shit. Because what that is it's a reminder of your inherent value. And by the way, when you get into a monogamous relationship, whether it's a marriage or it's a girlfriend thing, whatever, a long-term relationship, there become fewer and fewer opportunities for that woman to be reminded of your inherent value, why she got with you in the fucking first place, right? Because all her girlfriends want to fuck you too. You had social proof and you had pre-selection at some point along the way before you said, yes, I'll be in a committed relationship with you. That dread, that anxiety, that urgency to have marathon monkey sex with you is now replaced with rapport and familiarity and comfort and everything else. And so she doesn't feel like she has to put that much energy into it anymore. You get sexless marriages, yada yada. But really it comes back to the point where that woman is not reminded of what the fuck she has in the first place.
Right.
So, like when I just got an email from this like about a month ago. This lady was saying that like when me and Mike do the female delusion calculator on Access Vegas, and we put like some guy in, like they always like come up, we let the girls usually put the data in, right? Mm-hmm. But like you could go and put Mike Sartain. Actually, you can't even put Mike Sartain in because he makes more than $500,000 a year. That's what tops out is like $500,000, right? Mm. And so I can't even put myself in there, right? So I have to say, okay, well, we can top everything out. We can put like, okay, you're X amount of years old. You're in pretty good shape. You're not obese. I'm 5'11", right? I'm not 6 foot tall, but I'm not like 5'9", right? So I can put my value in there and I can see what percentage of the population that I am. And we're just using basic CDC information and Census Bureau information. We're not talking about has to be the same religion, has to be,
the list tops out pretty damn quick.
Yeah. And so you go and you look at the rarity of the guy that she's with. Like I had women do this. They would take their stats of their husband and they will put them into the delusion calculator and they'll go, Rolo, you've changed my relationship because I realized that this guy is like the shit, even though I smell his farts every day and I know what he looks like in the morning and we're eating breakfast across the table from each other. I have a new appreciation for my husband because I realized that if I were to go and try to get this guy out there right now, there's no fucking way I would ever be able to get that guy again. And so they have this new appreciation for him. And then suddenly maybe they want to have sex with him again because they realize they are reminded of the value of the guy that they happen to be with. That woman who has the insight to do that is a rare fucking animal today.
Hold on to him, man. Don't let him go.
Yeah, I'm not doing No-fap November for the memes, I swear. Also, last year I used it to focus on getting a job and working harder at the gym. That seems for a little bit.
Let us know. Report back. I'm curious how it works out for you. I really am.
I would like to know too. Yeah, I know we're gonna get out of here. Let's see. So, when is it gonna be available? When's Dread gonna be out?
As soon as I can. I had set myself a very like December 1st late date. I'm hoping to have it done earlier. I'm literally just waiting for the final edits to get back, and I can do any last minute changes. The cover style done, and the graphic design only takes me about a week to get all the stuff in there. So it'll be before Christmas, well before Christmas.
See, now I have a mission. I have to finish up Cappy's book cover for his new book. And I also have to complete the hardcover version of my book so we can all release them at the same time.
Oh, dude. Shouldn't we be spacing these things out? Somebody's got to shell out like $100 in books.
I know. We're going to have to say, okay, now go.
You're telling me this whole like, you got to go up against Star Wars and Indiana Jones with
staggered releases. Yeah. Hey, at least what I'm doing with my the 10th anniversary edition. I have to actually do it before the end of the year, so it's still the 10th anniversary edition. But I'm doing the hardcover version of The Rational Male, and I am going back, editing it not for content, but for like syntax, typos, and making it a little bit simpler. I'm updating it so I'm not using like AFC, average frustrated chump, which was valid in 2013, and today people are like, what the fuck is he talking about? So.
Yeah.
So I'm updating a little bit of the language, but the content is actually the same. So.
I'm surprised. I can't wait for Amazon to put up like a box set thing, for all of yours to have it in that with like a little thing. I don't know. They just did hardcovers now, which is nice, but
it'll happen. I know they've only had hardcovers for like the last year and a half, I think. So
I think so. Yeah. So I got to do that too.
Yeah. Oh, and also Thor's book is really, really good too. Where'd it go? I just got this.
Yeah.
It's got Thor's book, so I got to give him a plug now and then. So.
Dude, dominant presence. He's probably going to be one of the first ones I do if I do start doing book reports.
It's your holiday season reading list. Red pill reading list for the holidays.
You know what? It's a good thing though. You were always talking about you want more red pill people to create things like, Savo with the videos and that. But the fact we actually have a decent selection of red pill books now that aren't just products or shitty pop-up books or just random bleeping into whatever.
Right.
You got Cooper's stuff. You got Paul. You got you got me, you got Clary. Like there's somebody who can actually have a library of good reading right now. That's rare.
Yeah. I'm still going to have to go clean up everybody's fucking mess. Well, what Rob Henderson was saying, it's like if you're on YouTube, you're an entertainer. If you're on doing this, I'm just entertaining, right? I try to be informational, right? What do you say? This is
medium.
It's the good kind of nachos, not the bad kind with just the cheese on top.
Mm-hmm.
And so like being an ideas guy, it's like it goes underappreciated because it's not in your face. It's not, bread and circuses all the time. And so it's good to use Twitter to like advertise. It's good to use Instagram to advertise, but you're still entertaining. And it's like there's a qualifiable difference between promoting a book and actually writing a book. So,
yes.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. Well, man, thanks for coming by one more time.
Dude, anytime you need anything. I'm only here because of you. Because that stupid call you said, hey, why don't you show up to Florida?
I appreciate your value.
I would have been in an office somewhere hating my life if it wasn't for you.
I know. Well, I mean, you got to come to Vegas. I really want you to come out to Vegas. I know I keep saying this, how hard it is to get out of fucking Canada. You should do it now before you can't leave Canada because it's an election year in the United States and you won't be able to leave the country because there'll be some fucked up reason that you can't.
I promise you're top of the list when I dust off the passport. I promise.
Yeah. Dude, I will put you up, dude. I will seriously put you up if you come all the way out here too. I'll treat you right. But anyways, I will be in Miami tomorrow. I'm starting tomorrow. I'm jumping on the plane at 6 a.m. from Reno all the way to Miami, Florida. I will be doing a lot of things tomorrow. If I can make it work, I'm going to be doing something with Mike and myself. We were supposed to have Jim Sex and he caught COVID. I'm sorry to say. But we're gonna try to reschedule with him either in Vegas or again in Miami at some point. We'll definitely want to get Jim to Vegas. But Jim's not going to be able to join us because he's still recovering from COVID. But that doesn't mean that we won't be doing some cool shit. Now, tomorrow I'll be, like I said, flying, but I might do the after hours show with Myron and Fresh and meet up with Mike while I'm out there. So that'll be Monday. Tuesday, I'm going to be on the Danza Project. Mike Sartain and myself will both be on the Danza Project. That will be 9 p.m. Eastern time. So set your calendars for that. I'm also going to be putting up some links and I'll be promoting for this as well. Wednesday, I'll be doing either a solo show with Myron or I'll be doing like a panel show with myself and Mike on Fresh and Fit. We'll probably be doing after hours shows every day or every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, most likely. And then Thursday, here's where the real fun begins. Adam Sosnick show. Me and Mike will be on that show versus the 12 panel, gallery of women on the opposite side, I guess. I don't know how he's going to work that out, but it'll be myself, Mike, maybe somebody else. I'm not really sure. It was supposed to be 3 of us, like with Jim Sexton, but we're doing a big show at Valuetainment with Adam Sosnick on Thursday. Then Friday, we'll be doing a full panel show and probably after hours with Myron and Fresh. And somewhere in between all of that, I'm going to I've got Vlad TV wants me to be on, and then I've also got Justin Waller, and which is, by the way, that's where Mike's staying, is at Justin's place. So we'll probably be doing some shows with Justin as well. Lots and lots of content coming up in the next week, so watch for that. Next Access Vegas will be November 16th, so I'll be back in Vegas on the 14th, 15th, and 16th, and then I'm out on the 17th. So that's coming up as well. Maxims is coming along nicely. I've got the class video finally done, so that's all separated out. I'm deciding how I'm going to distribute that at this point. And then also the hardback version of the 10th anniversary, abridged, updated, revised edition of The Rational Male will be forthcoming. I would say probably about the same time, like maybe like beginning.
Son of a bitch.
I'll don't worry, we'll stagger them. I'm sorry. I'll make sure we do it right. So,
nah, it'll be good. I got the screenshots when I'm number one for the first day. That's all I need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, oh wait a minute. Here's that attention you want. No, I'm not a loser. I'm a losset. Thanks, Sloppet. Thanks, loser.
Yeah. I'm so excited to finally shit on Rollo. I forgot to mash my keyboard properly.
Yes. Let's see. Yeah, R is very close to the T key. Try to hit it. Try to hit it again.
We were just talking about the power of the literary word, and you come out with this. Come on.
I know. I love it. You know what's funny is at least he's concerned enough to make the comments, right? He's insightful enough to really, I hate this guy so much. I'm going to spend some time to go and tell him. Here we are.
Typing one-handed.
Exactly. All right, guys. Thank you for watching, and thank you, Ryan, for joining me one more time. And we'll do this again. I love our conversation.
Dude, I do too. And I see your schedule. Getting you at this point is like a gift. Because you're a workaholic and I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. Yeah. It's for the love of it, because it's just shit ain't for the money, right?
I'm starting to doubt your claim about I love my wife because you're just always out working.
Yeah, well, maybe I got to do what I got to do. But anyways, yeah. All right, man. Thanks for joining us, and I will see you guys next week, next Sunday.
I need to feel you on top of me. It was my first time, but I was just a kid when we met and went to bed. It was my first time. What do you expect from me? I'm breaking up the rules now in the game. I've got some new tools, please do the same. Time came by and went over like a matchbox stereo. My thoughts now let go. Bound to keep me up all night. But maybe we can fuck again, and maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. Put it on me one more again. I need to know if maybe we can fuck again, then maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. Could have the best in my life.
Sometimes you don't get no hoes, man.
Now we're fucking in the bathroom, tearing up every wall while I got your hair. Why you screaming my name?
That's nasty. It is nasty, right? Isn't it nasty? Ugh.
She was swinging in the bedroom, whole time stopping and stopping with her head like she's calling you Kelly. So baby, come run me. Working up and down on your body. Run me up, ride me up and down like a pony. Turning up my song on your body. Baby, we'll get down to it all night. Maybe we can talk again, and maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. Won't you put it on me one more again? I need to know if maybe we can talk again, then maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby, one more again.
Sitting Podcast has been a production of The Rational Male. All rights reserved. 2023 registered trademark. Go look it up. Don't steal my stuff.
Tell these bitches to go to hell.
cool. Say, bitch, be cool. Be cool, honey. Say, bitch, be cool. Tell that